7 train always in action just outside of Citi Field as the temperatures in the big city starting to warm up. But that guy has been red hot. John Buck leads the National League with 9 RBIs. Colin Cowgill's got a couple of home runs of his own so far. Lucas Duda always showing you the power, looking to get a couple knocks today. Crisp Sunday afternoon for baseball in Flushing. From Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play host to the Miami Marlins on SNY this afternoon. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Burkhardt. Welcome to the broadcast. So it's the rubber game of this 3-game set between the Mets and the Marlins. And the Mets looking to take their first 2 series of the year. They'll have a guy, Aaron Laffey, on the hill today, a guy that was stretched out late in camp. We'll get to him in just a moment. First, let's take a look back at this weekend series. And on Friday night, the Mets' good run of starting pitching continued. Yes, Greg Dodge continues to kill the Mets as he does, but that was all that Jeremy Hefner would allow. Good start for him. He went 6 innings and allowed just the 1 run, striking out Giancarlo Stanton a couple times. Then the Marlins getting to the Mets bullpen. Defense was a factor here, too. They rooted Tejada with the error, and the Marlins made him pay. Getting to that bullpen, Duda couldn't make the diving play. Marlins tacking on late to take a big lead. Daniel Murphy tried to get the Mets back with a 3-run home run, but Steve Cishek, who wrapped up 14 of 15 saves last year, ended that one for a 7-5 Marlins victory, the first of manager Mike Redmond's young career. Yesterday, a little different story. The starting pitching continued to be great for the Mets. Jonathan Neese, his second start, good again, 6 innings, just the 1 earned run here, and John Buck stayed on fire. 4 RBI day for him yesterday with that 2-run double, had a couple of sac flies. Then with the game tied at 3 was Daniel Murphy with a big triple that scored Mike Baxter. The Mets continue to tack on. David Wright had a 3-hit day with an RBI right here, and the Mets would go on to a 7-3 win, emphasized by that Colin Cowgill's second home run of this young season. Cowgill in the starting lineup today. So for this rubber game, the Mets go to the minor leagues and bring up Aaron Laffey. Of course, this is the spot that Sean Markham was supposed to start today. Markham could be out for a while with the neck inflammation. So Laffey, who made 16 starts for the Blue Jays last year, going to be 28 years old in a week. The left-hander will get the call against these Marlins. He was 4-6 last year. And for the Marlins, it's a great story. 20-year-old Jose Fernandez, a #1 pick 2 years ago out of high school in Tampa. He's a Cuban defector, a tremendous story just to get here. He was in A-ball last year, where he was 14-1 with a 1.75 ERA, but he's making the jump all the way from A-ball to the major leagues, and he makes his debut in front of his mom and his dad here today. It's the Mets and the Marlins. Gary, Ron, and Ralph have the call. The first pitch coming your way in just a moment on SNY. by the Hyundai Let's Go sales event now through April 30th. By Geico. And by Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most innovative lineup ever. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. Guarantee access to 2013 MLB All-Star ticket strips by becoming a Mets ticket plan holder today. The 2013 MLB All-Star Game coming to Citi Field this July. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com/All-Star now. Today's twisted but true fact, the home run sculpture in Marlins Park is, well, it's one of the highest paid players on the Marlins. How about that? The sculpture cost an estimated $2.5 million to build. 22 of the 25 players on the Marlins make less than that. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Probably not so good. That's for you to judge. First pitch is coming up. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, and Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner here to bring you the call. Aaron Laffey on the hill when we come back.
Much nicer day today, 53 degrees as we approach game time. The wind has turned out of the south. It's going to be blowing hard. A hitter's wind today, blowing out 20 miles an hour, gusting to 33. Mets looking to take the rubber game of the series from the Marlins. Mets have only won their first two series once in the last 10 years. Trying to do that. Mike Redmond's starting lineup today has Chris Valaika for the first time. He'll make his Marlins debut. The guy the Mets have had trouble getting out in this series in the big spots is Greg Dobbs, who's driven in 4 runs in the first 2 games. And Aaron Laffey makes his Mets debut, his first National League start.
Made his Major League debut with the Cleveland Indians in 2007. Started 16 games last season for the Toronto Blue Jays. From Laffey, you're going to get a lot of sinking fastballs, a good slurve, and changeup. And defensively, the Lexus Mets defense, really the name you want to look at is Anthony Recker behind the plate. This is his first start and first appearance due to Kyle Gil Baxter, Wright, Tejada, Murphy, Davis, of course, Laffey on the hill. 4 errors this season, 12 all last season for Tejada.
It's been a very disappointing defensive start for Tejada, and whether it's because of the cold weather or something else, it's something the Mets cannot afford to have last very long. And I guess Ian Desmond in Washington has 4 errors as well.
But he made 2 in yesterday's ball game to really give Cincinnati a chance, but then hit a home run in the 11th.
How about that graphic? First meant to make 4 errors in the first 5 games since Jeff Kent in '96. But what a lot of people don't remember is that Kent was playing third base before he went to, well, first Toronto and then first Cleveland and then on to San Francisco. Juan Pierre leads off, 3 for 8 in the series. Laffey's first pitch is a Met as a fastball in for a strike, and it's about where Laffey's going to be, 84 miles an hour. He'll average around 85 or 86. He'll sink it, he'll cut it. He is not a hard thrower and has one of the lowest strikeout rates of any pitcher in the game. And the curveball stays inside, a ball and a strike.
Interesting, he's got number 47, right? Another pitcher in the Mets past with a good sinking fastball did not throw that hard.
It's a soft tossing lefties number.
That's right.
Of course, Tom Glavine wore 47 as a Brave and as a Met. And he's heading for the Hall of Fame one of these days.
I think we're going to have to pull his hem up a little, though. I think the pants are a little long on Mr. Laffey.
Juan Pierre, 34 years old. He's definitely got some extra inseam there. Laffey, 27 years old, from Cumberland, Maryland. 16th round pick by Cleveland back in '03. Pitched for 4 different American League teams, including the Yankees, which makes him now the 115th player to play for both the Mets and the Yankees, and the second one for the Mets this year. As Pierre fouls one off, Troy Hawkins, when he made his Mets debut, was number 114 to play on both sides of town.
And Mr. Laffey in 8 days will be 28. I think you couldn't have a worse birthday date, could you? April 15th. I mean, that's not a good date.
Well, you hope to be getting a refund. Here's the 1-2 to Pierre, and he just misses with that fastball. 2-2. There are the career numbers on Laffey. His 66th big league start. He's also done considerable work out of the bullpen. Last year, 16 starts, 6 relief appearances for Toronto. The alarming part of his season last year was his home run rate. 17 home runs in 100 innings. Back to the mound, and Laffey handles it. Makes the underhand toss to get Pierre for the first out of the day. So 1 out and nobody on. There are your umpires. Jim Wolf, brother of a pitcher, currently unemployed pitcher.
Right.
Randy Wolf is out on the market. He's got the balls and strikes. Ed Hickox, Corey Blazer, and Jim Joyce, who made a call that nobody had seen before yesterday, but I think the proper call, the interference against Juan Pierre when he ran over John Buck trying to make a throw down to second. The funny thing about it, though, of course, was that it happened a good 15 feet wide of the plate, not where you would expect an interference to occur. Here's Donovan Solano, moved up to number 2 in the order today with Placido Polanco getting the day off. Solano 1 for 7 in the series, and he dunks one into center field for a 1-out hit. So the Marlins have the first base runner of the game. Solano aboard for Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, you know, against Laffey, you're going to get a lot of first pitch fastballs the first time through the lineup, and Solano was waiting.
So here is Stanton, whom the Mets have held in check in this series. He's 3 for 9, but he had a couple of soft hits, including a broken bat infield hit in yesterday's game. Mets have been able to keep him in the ballpark. In fact, Stanton threw 18 at bats, no home runs, no RBIs. Of course, a slow start for Stanton, not a unique thing for him. Last year, he didn't hit his first home run until the 20th game, and he wound up with 37 home runs. Greg Dobbs waiting on deck. Speaking of slow starts, new players in Anaheim, I think, now have to have slow starts. Last year it was Pujols.
Yes.
This year it's Josh Hamilton, 1 for 20, 10 strikeouts.
The people in Texas are enjoying it, to tell you the truth.
Really are. He need a little therapy by the time he gets out of Texas. Fastball taken high, and it's 1-1 to Stanton.
You know, for you folks who've been watching the first couple of games, the Mets pitchers, especially the hard throwers, have been pitching Stanton up and in. It'll be interesting with Laffey, who doesn't break 90, if he'll use that same game plan.
And he goes up and away to get the strike, and it's 1-2. Well, just because a guy doesn't throw hard doesn't preclude him from working up out of the strike zone.
It doesn't, but he probably has to throw it a little bit higher than the other guys.
Saw Chris Young very effective with that. Guy who throws 82, 83 miles an hour and pitches up. Laffey has averaged just 4.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he is not a big strikeout guy. And Stanton able to just get a piece of that cutter to stay alive.
It's interesting to see that swing right on the pitch. Thigh high or down, much better swing from Stanton than he will on the pitch above his the letters.
See, Laffey has the lowest strikeout rate among active pitchers. So he's looking for contact, trying to keep the ball off the fat part of the bat. Now the 1-2 to Stanton, and he fouls it away. Mets starting pitchers have gotten off to a tremendous start this year. First 5 games of the season, starters have an earned run average of 1.41. Of course, this was going to be Sean Markham's spot in the rotation. There's Matt Harvey, who opens the series in Philly tomorrow night. Markham has inflammation in his neck, and I don't think anybody really knows when he's going to be coming back. And so Laffey gets the start, and the Mets have made really no commitment to Laffey beyond this start. Colin McHugh made his season debut for Las Vegas last night, pitched very well, so he might be a candidate if Laffey were to falter. There's what the Mets have done so far with their starters. It's been brilliant. Harvey with the most eye-popping start against San Diego. He'll go up against Roy Halladay in the Phillies tomorrow night. Long turn at bat for Stanton. This will be the 7th pitch, and he gets tired of waiting for Laffey.
Interesting. Laffey shaking off Buck a few times there. We haven't seen that a lot from the starters. Sorry, I shouldn't say Buck. Anthony Recker. Get that right. Didn't I point that out in the defense, I think?
And he gets him. Took a little bit off, left it away, and Laffey fans Stanton for the second out.
Well, that's a perfect pitch by Laffey there. Shook off to get to the changeup, turns it over on the outside corner. Perfect pitch. Did enough inside with the fastballs to make him aware of that pitch, and then pulled the string.
So 2 out. Solano still at first, and Greg Dobbs coming up. Dobbs 3 for 8 in the series, a homer and 4 RBIs, filling in at first base with all the injuries the Marlins have had at that position. Logan Morrison out after knee surgery. They hope to have him back in late May. Casey Kochman hurt his hamstring. So Dobbs starting his 4th straight game at first base. How about this? Rogers Center this afternoon. R.A. Dickey making his 2nd start for the Blue Jays. Red Sox have 5 in the 1st.
Wow.
Will Middlebrooks a 2-run homer. Dickey gave up 4 runs in his first start in Toronto, including a home run that he never expected to leave the yard. That is a great home run hitter's park.
I think that the Rogers Center, and people always talk about some of the smaller ballparks like the one in Philadelphia, but the Rogers Center in the American League, and I believe in Milwaukee, that stadium are 2 of the ones where the ball really jumps.
I think I'd throw Arlington into that mix too. And you know which stadium always has big home run numbers, which you don't think of, is U.S. Cellular in Chicago.
That's right.
Mets will actually play there this year for only the 2nd time. On the inside corner, and Laffey gets ahead on Dobbs 1-2. And the one thing we've seen from Laffey very quickly is that ability to keep the ball on the corners. And I guess if you're throwing your fastball 84, that would be mandatory.
Pretty deliberate, though. I mean, we saw Jonathan Neese pitch yesterday, and he works very quickly. A little more deliberate from Aaron Laffey.
Wonder if that has anything to do with Anthony Recker making his debut and just trying to make sure that he puts down the right numbers.
I think that's part of it, but I was also watching from the windup that Laffey had a moment before he would throw every pitch where he's kind of doing some visualization, eyes closed, considering what he's going to do with the next pitch.
Ahead 1-2, and Dobbs lines one into center field. That's a base hit. Solano pulls in at second, and so the Marlins have 2 on and 2 out. Dobbs has been doing it throughout this series, hasn't he?
He's always hurt the Mets. He's one of those, the term is professional hitter. Knows what he's doing up there, and with 2 strikes, he's done it twice now. You pitch him away, he goes that way. Once against Jonathan East down the line, cost Jonathan a run, and here with a base hit. I mean, that's a pitcher's pitch, but he's protecting, shortening up, and make sure that he's going to put the ball in play. Rewarded twice in this series with a base hit.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now Justin Ruggiano 2 for 9 in the series. A couple of RBIs. And Lackey spots the outside corner. 0-1. Ruggiano has hurt the Mets repeatedly since he joined the Marlins last year. He's got a .400 batting average against Met pitching.
Interesting. About as close with those hands to the inside part of the plate as anyone you'll see in the game.
And a check swing foul, 0-2.
Good job by Anthony Recker, the catcher, and Laffey countering that guy up on the plate and want to try to jam him if you can.
Rob Brantley, the left-hand batting catcher, would be next. And signed Laffey as a minor league free agent as rotation insurance, and sure enough, first week of the season, that insurance kicks in. Here's the 0-2. And he works off the plate, 1-2. It's like he manipulates his fastball quite a bit. Between 84 and 87, different movement on it.
Yeah, I think he cuts it, he turns it over sometimes. He's just trying to get as much movement on it as he can. Should be a ground ball pitcher for the most part.
In fact, in 2009, he generated 26 ground ball double plays in 121 innings, which is an extraordinary number. It gives you an idea of how he likes to work. Now the 1-2, and he got him. A couple of strikeouts for Aaron Laffey, working against type, striking out Ruggiano with a curveball. 2 hits and 2 left for the Marlins. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first. No score at Citi Field. Record going over that top of the first inning. Getting to know you moment.
I think Laffey's just letting him know that one of the pitches kind of sailed on Recker, and he's just asking if Laffey was trying to do that or not.
Let's check out the Mets Geico starting lineup. A little different look today with Mike Baxter hitting in the middle of the batting order. Interesting call for Terry, hitting Cowgill leadoff and Baxter fifth. He could have gone the other way around with those two.
Especially with the game Baxter had yesterday with a couple of walks, stolen base.
And Jose Fernandez, just 20 years old, makes his major league debut for Miami.
Well, as you can see, he is a big kid, rushing off that mound a la Mark Fidrich. But there's nothing about Mark Fidrich in this young man's game. 95 plus, a hammer, and the only thing, 20 years old.
Colin Cowgill leads things off. He added a punctuation mark in yesterday's game with a home run, his second. And they just took that ball out of play. Fernandez's first pitch in the major leagues, and they'll save that one for posterity.
High aspirations.
Sending it right to Cooperstown?
I guess so.
Cowgill, 13 at bats, already has 2 home runs. He hits this one out to center field, easy for Ruggiano, and he puts it away for the first down. They're going to save that baseball now, first out.
Won't have any baseballs left. Here's the Marlins defense. Coors Light. Chris Valleca is at third base this afternoon. Brantley behind the plate, still learning the position. Everywhere else just about the same. Echeverria at shortstop, been very impressive defensively so far in the series. What's impressive is I got his name right, so I'm really excited about that.
Very nice. There's Juan Pierre. Still leading off after all these years. Not too many guys do that at his age. Here's Murphy, who's had a couple of very big hits in this series. A 3-run homer on Friday night, and then yesterday with the game tied in the 7th, a long triple that gave the Mets the lead for good. David Wright on deck. Get out to left field, chasing Pierre back and onto the warning track to make the grab. 2 out.
Well, you're supposed to be nervous, I guess, in your first start, but all strikes so far from Fernandez.
Well, he's throwing strike one, forcing the Mets to put the ball in play relatively early in the count. He's coming at them with fastballs. Fernandez last year played in Greensboro, which is the South Atlantic League low A ball, and Jupiter, Florida State League, which is high A ball. I mean, his numbers were eye-popping: 14-1, 1.75, 158 strikeouts, and 134 innings. But not too many guys go straight from A ball to the big leagues.
I played with one, but he struck out 300 and 190 innings in A ball.
In Lynchburg.
Yep.
That was Dwight Gooden. His 83 season preceding his record strikeout season for a rookie in 84. So David Wright goes up there attacking. You know, normally you get a lot of video, a lot of information about pitchers, and while the Mets have heard a lot about Fernandez, they haven't seen all that much. And David swung at that Cholula 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Some heat. There's the first breaking ball, and that's low, 1-1.
You gotta know you're pretty special when you're 20 years old, and in the first inning you can get a Cholula already. I mean, I know they've taken the first ball out of play, but we usually reserve that till the 4th or 5th inning at least.
Mike Davis waiting for some hot sauce on deck, and Wright fouls off the 95-mile-an-hour fastball, 1-2. Well, I guess R.A. Dickey wasn't the only ace to take it on the chin in the first inning. Steven Strasburg just gave up 3 in the first in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati looks poised to have a big offensive year.
A bunch of opening day starters getting their second go-round today. Here's the 1-2, breaking ball hit in the air to right field, chasing Stanton back, and he's got room. So 3 fly balls, 1 to each fielder, and that gets Jose Fernandez through his first big league inning on just 8 pitches. No score after 1. backslap and a couple of fist bumps after his first big league inning.
It's nothing like getting through that first inning of your first big league start, Gary. It's quite a feeling.
But you have to be impressed, if nothing else, with the fact that he didn't come out and try and strike everybody out. And the Mets were pretty aggressive against him.
Obviously, the game plan the Mets must have gotten or saw very, very early in that inning that this kid's going to throw strikes.
Rob Brantley leads off the second against Aaron Laffey, who worked around a couple of hits in the first inning. Brantley 2 for 4 in this series. Miguel Olivo caught yesterday. Interesting that Brantley gets the start against the lefty. Mets throwing back-to-back left-handers. John Neese yesterday and Laffey today.
Talking to some Miami folks, Redmond, of all the young managers, doesn't seem to really care about the righty-righty matchups, lefty-lefty matchups.
Danny Echeverria, the young shortstop, waiting on deck. And then Chris Valleca, who's batting 8th in the order and playing third base. Curveball misses outside, 1-2. Mike Redmond played as recently as 3 years ago.
There's not many catchers that are now a manager that could still catch Jose Fernandez if he had to.
Well, among current managers, only one other guy started his managerial career within 3 years of his playing career ending. In fact, only one in the last 2 decades, and that was Joe Girardi. His last year playing was in 03, and he started managing in 06. Of course, that was with the Marlins. Rolled out to right, and the sidearm toss gets Brantley for the first out. Of course, Girardi lasted just 1 year in Miami, a very successful year, but was let go. In fact, he won Manager of the Year, didn't he?
Yes.
And he was fired. A little difference of opinion between himself and ownership.
Yeah, I think they also had different theories on where they were going and moving forward.
Now Echeverria, who was part of that big trade the Marlins made with the Blue Jays in the offseason, same one that sent Jose Reyes to Toronto, and Echeverria fouls it off. So the Marlins, with Echeverria and Jose Fernandez, have 2 Cuban defectors in their lineup today. Echeverria defected during a Cuban national team trip, junior national team, in 2009. So his was a little less harrowing, I guess, than Jose Fernandez's tale.
Well, still, if they were roommates on the road, I'm sure have better stories than anyone else could have.
No question about that. And Fernandez's story is just startling when you read some of the details. 15 years old, tried 4 separate times, was jailed as a 14-year-old after a failed attempt. When they did finally make the crossing, took him 36 hours. His mother fell into the water. He had to dive in to rescue her. I mean, can you imagine 15 years old?
Can't. Just trying to get through AP calculus.
That's impressive at 15.
But not as impressive as that.
Here's the 1-2 to Echeverria, and it's at his feet. 2-2. By the way, I'm just happy that we were able to get you on microphone today. Just a little inside baseball here in the booth. The microphones are marked by number. Keith's and Ron's are, and Keith's has a 17 on it, and Ronnie's has a 12 on it. And I know that Ronnie wore a lot of different numbers during his career, but I didn't think 17 was one of them. But 17 wound up on its headset today. Lined into left, a base hit for Echeverria, and so we couldn't hear you at first.
I had an Oakland A's flashback. In Oakland, I wore number 17 because 12 and 15 were taken. The numbers I wore with the Mets, including 44 my first year. As you see, this youngster is going to be quite a player. He's had a, what's that, 3rd or 4th hit in this series already. That looks a little bit like handling Ramirez at a young age. But I got back on number 12, so I'm good now for a while.
I did not recall that you had worn 17 with the A's. Now, after Keith Hernandez left,
yes,
David Cohn took number 17 in tribute to Keith. Now, was your wearing 17 at all a tribute?
I love Keith, you know that. I would certainly never wear his number in tribute. That would never happen. But I do love him.
But you wore his headset.
I did today.
Accidental tribute.
It was the best, honestly, 5 minutes I've had on air this April so far. So
this is Chris Valaika making his Marlins debut. Had a little bit of big league time with the Reds in 2010 and 2011, and he takes a big hack and misses 1-1. Valaika, third-round pick by the Reds out of UC Santa Barbara, but he tore up his knee a couple of times, and that set him back.
And he kind of replaced on that depth chart after he was injured a couple times by Cozart, who now is emerging as one of the good young shortstops in the National League.
Valaika did mostly a shortstop and second baseman in his career, playing third base for the Marlins today, giving Placido Polanco a day off. And Laffey's 1-1 is fouled back. Now Laffey's doing a terrific job keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate.
So far, when we watch Laffey pitch, he's a guy that has to be on the knees or lower. We saw the base hit by Echeverria. Once he gets that ball up in the strike zone, doesn't throw hard enough to get it by the hitters.
Laffey tough to run against. In his career, 22 stolen base attempts, only 11 successful. But again, if you're that 86-mile-an-hour pitcher, you've got to be able to control the running game, among other things.
Control the running game, be able to field your position. You have to do all the little things.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. Laffey ahead on Valaika, 1-2. And another foul ball that'll go out of play. The wind has really turned today. It's blowing dead out of the south, which means out. So if you're a pitcher, even more than usual, you don't want to get the ball up.
I honestly have never seen the ball carry on a homestand like it has here in these first 6 games.
Well, normally you get those north and northeast winds blowing in April that knock everything down. Not this week. In the dirt, stopped by Wrecker, and it's 2-2. Well, Kurt Suzuki just did a 3-run homer off Johnny Cueto. That got Strasburg back even. 3-3 in the second. Speaking of places where home runs fly out in Cincinnati.
They hit 6 the other night, right? Frazier had a couple.
Last night, the Nats blew a 4-run lead and then won it in extra innings. 2-2. And it's foul back. This is one thing about Laffey that we've seen. It's hard for him to put people away, so get a lot of foul balls, throw a lot of pitches.
Despite his 2 strikeouts in the first inning, you were mentioning that he's a guy that strikes out a little over 4 every 9 innings.
You know, the foul balls remind me very much of a former Met who's now in the bullpen for the Marlins. John Mayne would get more foul balls than anybody working that high fastball. 8th pitch of the at-bat, and Valaika bloops one into shallow center. That'll fall for a hit. Echeverria stops at second. So 4 hits off Laffey through the first 8 batters. And the Marlins are first and second and 1 out with the pitcher coming up.
It's interesting, though. 3 out of the 4 hits have been kind of soft hits. He's trying to jam the hitters up and in, and they're kind of muscling out to center field.
Now, one thing we know nothing about Jose Fernandez is whether he can hit. Because in his minor league career, he only played A ball and below, and pitchers don't bat in the minor leagues till you get to Double-A.
But the one thing about Cuban baseball, especially played at a young age, is that there's no pitcher specialization. They play other positions when they're not pitching.
And he's a big kid, so you get the idea if he got a hold of one, it might go a long way.
Well, they want him to bunt it about 20 feet here.
That's a play for the bunt. Fernandez bunts and foul.
Well, I think he knows what he's doing, because the angle of that bat, as he shakes his head, yeah, I know what I'm doing, was perfect.
Well, third base coach Joe Espada is in violation of the rules.
I honestly
say that you have to be in the coaching box.
If I were pitching, I would look at Espada and tell him to get back in the box. Please spare me.
Well, he's heading back in that general direction.
I will wait until he gets back over there.
Mets play it straight up, and it's bunted foul again.
I mean, he's even making a play on it now.
And now he needs a conversation with Fernandez after 2 foul bunts.
Don't you love Major League Baseball? You got all those complex signs, and it really comes down to, hey, lay this one down, will you? I mean, come on.
Well, what's the message? Do better?
The message is just trying to get straight, is that they still want him to be bunting with 2 strikes.
First and second and 1 out, and he's ready to swing, and he strikes out.
Should have.
So they took the bunt off. And Fernandez strikes out in his first professional at bat. That's the 3rd strikeout, first time through the batting order against Laffey, who last year struck out only 48 batters in 101 innings. So it's a little unusual for Aaron, but it gets him a big second out. And now we'll take on Juan Pierre with 2 out and 2 on.
The reason why you don't want your pitcher hitting in that situation, unless he's like a Matt Harvey who can really hit, is you don't want him to hit into a double play. You want Pierre a shot here with the guy in scoring position.
Pierre hit a comebacker his first time up. And he takes a breaking ball for a strike. You know, I was looking at the pitch distribution for Laffey from last year, and it was shocking to me. If you combine his fastball and his cutter, he throws it 84% of the time.
More than Jonathan Neese.
But now watching him today, you can understand why. Because that 84% encompasses about 4 different pitches.
That's right. He goes the gamut from 83 to 88 with cutting it, turning it over.
You see 8 out of 10 batters he's thrown a first pitch strike. It's a good formula for success. Ahead on Pierre, 0-2. Tough man to strike out. And that was breaking ball away.
Well, if there's season ticket holders in left field, by the end of the season, Lucas should know their names, because he has been playing as close as you can to that line throughout this whole series.
Of course, very shallow against Pierre to the opposite field. And he got him. Laffey strikes out Pierre. That's 4 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for Aaron Laffey. And again, the Marlins strand a couple. That's come to bat in the bottom of the second. No score. Trivia question. The youngest player to make his major league debut with the Marlins. Jose Fernandez is the third youngest player and the youngest pitcher ever to appear for the Marlins.
My guess is a guy who got 4 hits in a game yesterday, but we'll see.
Well, I've got 2 choices, and they're both pretty good.
Yes, right?
One of them's with them now.
Yep.
And the other one has long since moved on. Ike Davis, 2 for 7 in the series, had a couple of hits yesterday, including a key hit and run single in the Mets' 2-run 6th that gave them a lead. Mike Baxter hitting 5th in the order, different spot for him.
Oh, I thought the change was a work in progress. What an outstanding change up there from Fernandez.
You know, when we had that shot of him low from behind home plate and standing there on the mound with that stocky body of his, I'm thinking of another guy named Fernandez.
Yes, Alex Fernandez.
Right?
Yep.
Here's the 1-2 and the breaking ball in there. Strike 3 call. That was nasty, and they'll take that out of play. First major league strikeout for Jose Fernandez.
We're going to have a museum full of balls here at the end of the game if he keeps pitching like this. Fastball down the middle for his first strike. Changeup on the black. Backdoor curveball. I don't know what did you do with that, Ike. Nothing.
They thought it never went over the plate. He might have had a case, but they are filling up the trophy case. First pitch, first strikeout. Make sure you put it in a different pocket. Baxter fouls it back off the screen. It's 0-1. Mike hit leadoff yesterday and did a leadoff man's job. Reached base 3 times and stole a base and scored the eventual go-ahead run in the 7th inning.
That was interesting. Third baseman Valaika came in and told the pitcher Fernandez, make sure that if you go to your mouth, you wipe it off and you're not on the rubber.
96 on the gun, 1-1 to Baxter.
You're right. Right there, it looks like Alex Fernandez. Just a little taller. Pretty simple. And he drops that leg, and lots of power coming off that back right leg.
6'2", 242 pounds.
Thinks Alex was more like in the 6-foot range in his day, but an outstanding pitcher in his own right.
And now Fernandez behind for the first time. 3-1 on Baxter, who seems to be a walk machine.
That's what Terry Collins said today. He said, well, let's face it. They were asking about Baxter's strengths. He goes, well, let's face it. He knows how to walk.
Well, he's used 3 different leadoff hitters, Terry has, in the first week of the season. He's used Baxter, he's used Cowgill, he's used Valdespin. The other 2 guys have a little more speed and have a little more power. But in terms of on-base percentage, it's hard to argue with Baxter. But he goes down swinging here. Back-to-back strikeouts for Jose Fernandez, and he's retired the first 5.
3-2. You know, fastball's coming. You're the hitter, and still throws it by you. Pretty impressive.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Lucas Duda. Duda 1 for 5 in this series. See the on-base percentage. He's already walked 6 times in the first 5 games. And he takes ball 1. Ran that fastball inside, and it's 1-1.
It's interesting. And Matt Harvey's start against San Diego, we said in the 2nd or 3rd inning, you know, San Diego has got to turn it up a notch early in the game, and it looks like I think the Mets are going to have to do that against this young man also.
Well, Harvey's debut last year was memorable. Fernandez trying to do the same today. Matt struck out 11 against the Diamondbacks in his first big league start last summer.
Interesting number for Fernandez for a guy who jumped from A-ball to the big leagues, isn't it? Number 16.
I was thinking that when I was writing down the lineup before the game. Wonder whether there's any thought of Doc Gooden in that choice of number. And Duda strikes out. Fernandez strikes out the side in his second big league inning. Pretty impressive for the 20-year-old. Our Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner joins us as we go to the third inning here at Citi Field. The Mets and Marlins, no score. Years, join the millions of fans and subscribe today. Watch every out-of-market game live online or on your favorite mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere.
Is the game over? I was just happy. I was looking at the mound. I thought they might dig up the pitching rubber at some point and put it out with the ice sculpture down in Miami.
Well, they've already saved his first pitch. They've saved his first strikeout. He's gotten hugs after his second inning. It's a big day for Jose Fernandez. But you know, it's a baseball holiday anyway. You know why? Because it's Ralph Kiner's first visit to the booth this year.
Yeah, this is only a day for me, that's for sure.
How are you, Ralph? It is great to see you. It's been a long, long time, far too long.
When I go back to opening day for me, I have to go back to 1946, and I got a base hit in that ball game against the Cardinals. Well, and then Johnny Beasley was the pitcher. You never forget that opening day.
That's right. That's right.
And my first home run I ever hit was against Howie Paulette, who was a very good left-hand pitcher.
Did you ever get off to a start like Chris Davis has gotten off to with 4 home runs and now 17 RBI?
No, he got 4 strikeouts. That means I had 3 swings at least.
Laced into center field by Solano, and he's 2 for 2. So you got a hit in your first big league game.
Against Johnny Beasley, who was a 20-game winner before the war, World War II, I'm talking about. Of course, I had 2.5 years in the service, and I came out of that, and I had a great spring. I had 13 home runs in spring training in less than 30 games, and but I had an advantage. I lived in California, and I worked out every day before I went to spring training.
Ralph, we always like to get your opinion about power hitters, and this guy may be the best one in the game right now in Stanton as that ball pops out of Recker's mitt, but he recovers it, makes a perfect throw, and he gets Solano. What a seed by Anthony Recker. Didn't look like there was any chance he was going to get Solano, but he did.
Oh, the problem here, Solano just reacted too late. See the ball kind of boomerang out of the glove of Recker. Great hustle. And like you said, Gary, what an arm he displayed. Watching Solano run, you're thinking that, boy, is this ball going to beat him? And it did.
You know, the funny thing about that, he made a lousy move at trying to catch that ball and then turns it into a nut. That would be a nice play to have in your playbook.
That's right.
Stanton grounds one down to David Wright, and he throws him out by a strike, 2 away. But what about the jump that Solano got? Let's take a look.
Right there, the ball bounces out of the glove, and he had a good jump. I mean, it's not an easy try to steal. And it was out, and a good arm through right there. And the Mets needed that last year. That arm was good.
Well, catching has certainly been a strong point over the first week of the season for the Mets. Not necessarily so in the last few years.
How about the bat? I mean, you got a guy that leads the league and runs better than, and he's not even catching today.
First day off for John Buck. Here's Greg Dobbs with 2 out and nobody on. But I wanted to ask you about Giancarlo Stanton. I'm sure you've gotten a chance to watch him, and there's probably not a better power hitter in the game right now. Guy's just got unbelievable strength. What have you seen?
Well, there's no question, but you don't become a power hitter. You are a power hitter, and you're born that way, I think, more than anything else. I think he's got a chance to be a real good power hitter, and now we're talking about over 50 home runs. You talk about players that hit 30 home runs being power hitters. That's about mediocre.
Dobbs takes one the other way. Boy, his terrific series continues. 2 strikes, taking the ball to left field. He's made a living of that.
Well, this is really a good advantage of having a ball outside and low and out of the strike zone and a base hit. But look at this. That ball is outside, and he goes with it and hits it to the left field. Keith Hernandez would be proud of that.
Well, they're going to have to get the defensive placement book for Greg Dobbs and burn it after the series.
A couple of times he's hit the ball between right on the line. Reggiano with 2 out and a runner at first, trying to bunt for a hit.
Especially a guy who, one of his strengths, Reggiano, is he's got some power. That is not a good play. In fact, if you look at it correctly, it can looked at as a selfish play.
Yeah, why would you be bunting in that spot unless you're a lousy hitter? And he goes in bunting position early and shows that he had to sign the bunt.
Well, that ball almost hit him in their territory.
I know, because that would have been added insult to injury there.
Would have been out. Ball and a strike to Reggiano. I mean, if you bunt for a hit in this spot, basically you're saying, I'm not going to get the job done. I'm going to leave it up to the next guy.
Yeah, that means you're not going to hit into a double play more than anything else.
You want to hit something in the gap to score the guy from first. That's your only thought.
Reggiano struck out his first time up. Rob Brantley would be next. Marlins already have 6 hits against Aaron Laffey. All singles. He leans Reggiano back 2-2. Because of all those hits, he's about to throw his 60th pitch in the 3rd inning on deep counts, a lot of foul balls.
And he's not a hard ball thrower. You wouldn't think his count would be that high.
Yeah, ideally he'd like to be making things happen a little earlier in the at bat.
He's a guy that you know, when you're pitching, you want to have a low pitch count. You want a lot of try to get ground balls. But maybe these strikeout totals so far, which are unusual for him, have pushed that number up.
Breaking ball foul to the plate.
That's away with a hanging curveball right there, and that was a pitch who could really hit hard. He's a strange pitcher. He really is. He doesn't throw hard, and he has a curveball that sort of moves. It isn't a sharp curveball like a Sal Maglie or a top curveball that he threw.
Smack toward the gap in left center field. And that ball hits on the warning track, goes to the wall. Dobbs digging for 3rd. Here comes Tejada's relay to the plate. Record can't handle it cleanly, and Dobbs is in to score, and the Marlins have a 1-0 lead. On to 3rd goes Reggiano.
And the reason why he didn't handle that ball cleanly, he was trying to get the ball in the glove and then make a dive to the plate. And this throw was way outside.
Well, the man who was trying to bunt with 2 outs is rewarded by hitting the ball in the gap, like we said. See the throw from Tejada, kind of spikes it, and it hit the back side of the mound, the front side of the mound, when you watch a guy throwing. But you see Dobbs really kind of Cadillacing there until he got close to third. He thought that it was just going to be a first to third situation, but he scores.
He was in maybe the third gear about this point.
He's only got 4. He doesn't have 5. So.
So 1-0 Miami. The first extra base hit for the Marlins produces the first run. A double for Ruggiano. He takes third on the throw. But Dobbs' ability to hit with 2 strikes in this series has been a huge factor for Miami. Rob Brantley grounded out to third base his first time up. And takes the curveball outside, 1-1.
Ralph, let me ask you. Keith always says that he always looks dead red and then reacts. For a pitcher like Laffey, would you sometimes sit on a changeup or a breaking ball?
Oh, absolutely. You got to pick a pitch on him because he can't throw the ball by you. And there's no question about that. That ball is hit in the air, high in the air in foul territory. I mean, fair territory.
David Wright makes the play to end the inning, but the Marlins strike first. Ruggiano's 2-out double, 1-0 Miami in the third. Laffey's given up 7 hits over the first 3 innings. Got tagged for a run on this double by Ruggiano.
Right here now, you see the move right here is very good as far as the body action is going, but the ball is being hit near the trademark, and that means you take something off the distance.
And in regard to Laffey, we talked about it before. If he's above the waist, does not have enough behind the ball to throw it by the hitters inside. And Ruggiano showed you that there.
Or get a foul ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the foul ball would be a normal thing if you're fast enough to get it out of the strike zone and by.
Ruben Tejada leads off the home third against Jose Fernandez, who's retired the first 6 in his big league debut. Tejada 1 for 7 in the series. Those are those extraordinary numbers that Jose Fernandez put up last year in A ball. Low A Greensboro, high A Jupiter.
You know, one thing about the A ball and double A and all that sort of thing, it was changed at one time. There was no triple A at all. There was double A, that was the highest leg. And then it went to A1, and then went to A ball, and then B.
course, at one time, the lowest minor league was D ball.
That's right.
And they had open classification in the Pacific Coast League. They wanted to go major leagues and almost did. And now we have the teams that were the ones they were picking that are in the major leagues.
Line the other way, but Stanton is right there playing shallow against Tejada. And that's the first out. Hardest hit ball against Fernandez so far. And Fernandez impressing his manager before he ever threw a pitch for him. Here's Mike Redmond.
He's special, and you know, I think you know, when you get a chance to just talk to him, he's genuine, and he's so appreciative of the opportunity, and you know, from where he's come to today, and you know, he deserves to be out there, and I'm excited for him. I wish I was catching him.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I wish I was catching him, because it would be I would be so nervous, you know, wanting him to do well. I'm just excited for him, and I hope he goes out there and shows everybody what we've seen.
Well, so far so good for Fernandez. 7 up and 7 down. Now facing Anthony Recker in his first at bat as a Met. And Recker takes the breaking ball for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Redmond, the catcher in his playing days, a lot of catchers are managers. There's no doubt about it. And of course, they are the manager behind home plate while action is going on.
So Recker's minor league numbers there. He had 49 big league at bats last year, and he strikes out on 3 pitches. First time he faces Jose Fernandez. 4 strikeouts for Fernandez. 8 up and 8 down.
Well, curveball before, then this fastball up in the strike zone. You know, Ralph, you were saying that. We had a trivia question the other day. There were 8 managers right now in the big leagues that were former catchers in the major leagues. So you're right about that. That's like the quarterback position in baseball almost.
Well, I think you're right. That's a way to describe it. They're the quarterbacks. They got to call the pitches. And unless you have a manager that calls the pitches from the bench, the pitchers make their own minds up. Nobody called your pitches, did they?
No, but they should have.
Colin Cowgill on deck. Aaron Laffey spent his career in the American League to this point, so only has 4 big league at bats. And he grounds this one down to Dobbs. So Jose Fernandez goes perfectly through the Mets order over his first 3 big league innings. 1-0 Miami as we go to the 4th. An in-depth preview of Matt Harvey's second start in tomorrow's Mets-Phillies opener on Mets Blog, presented by Verizon, part of the SNY.TV blog network. Fourth inning, Aaron Laffey has given up 7 hits over the first 3, just 1 run. Down 1-0 as he faces the lower third of the Marlins order. Danny Echeverria takes low and inside ball 1. Echeverria hit a hard base hit to left field his first time up. Takes a strike 1-1. We're watching Jose Fernandez in his big league debut. Ralph, the common wisdom these days is that big leaguers hate to face pitchers they've never seen before. Was it as true when you were playing as it is now, do you think?
Well, first of all, when you see a pitcher on the mound that you've never seen before, you started asking him, what does he throw? Does he throw a curveball when he's behind? Does he throw a pitch that is an off-speed pitch when he's in situations that happen to him? And you try to get as much information as you can, but there's nothing better than just hitting against a pitcher and finding out how he does work you personally.
Echeverria draws a leadoff walk.
Good pitchers don't work you the same way all the time, and they find out, well, this guy will throw a curveball when the count's 3-1. When you find those things out, it makes a big difference when you're a hitter.
Also, I think that one of the things you learn early on, if you're trying to be in this game a long time, is you're facing someone like yourself or a power hitter. I'm going to pitch you different when there's men on base as opposed to when no one's on base. You know, I'm not going to try not to give up my hand all the time when no one's on base.
Well, but the other thing too, Ron, as you well know and did, was the fact you don't pitch a good hitter the same way in a row.
Valleca laces one down the line. Echeverria with outstanding speed. He's going to score easily as Valleca pulls him to second with an RBI double, and it's 2-0 Miami. So Valleca getting his first 2 at-bats of the season. He's 2 for 2, a single and a double, and now he's driven in a run.
He makes it look easy right here. 2 for 2 and 2 at-bats. And that ball is right on the inside part of the places where you can hit the ball well, and he pulls it right down the line where he should.
You remember when the Mets had Santana pitching a lot, Chris Capuano, people like that. David would play closer to the line with a softer throwing left-hander. Santana wasn't soft throwing left-hander. Tommy Glavine. Well, he's been playing off the line with Laffey on the mound today.
One thing about, you mentioned Glavine. Glavine got more pitches that were called strikes than were balls.
Nice bunt by Fernandez, and he moves the runner Valleca over to third.
Glavine pitched off the plate all the time, and that's one thing. The ball was outside, and he would get called. He could get the call of the strikes.
What I remember is that when Santana came to the Mets, he asked David to play further on the line. And once David started doing that for Santana, Oliver Perez wanted David to play on the line too. Because Santana did. So now the infield comes in. Mets already down 2-0. Juan Pierre the batter, and you have to be alert to the squeeze here. One of the best bunters in the game.
And right at third base is way in on the line.
Well, Valleca on third base has got decent speed. What we've seen in the past couple of years is that safety squeeze where Pierre will try to bunt it. If it's a really good bunt, then Valleca will react and try to score.
The funny thing is, there was a period of time for about 20 years when nobody used the safety squeeze. Right? It used to be a play that you saw from time to time. Then it disappeared, and now the last couple of years, everybody uses it.
The safety squeeze is a squeeze play. The runner on third base doesn't run until he sees the ball bunted and where it went. On the suicide squeeze, you go before the pitch is released by the pitcher if he happens to wind up.
Of course, on the safety squeeze, if you bunt it toward third, that runner at third base can follow the third baseman down the line.
Who's going to be the runner? Jackie Robinson? Speaking of Jackie, he's got number 42 on the movie side.
Valleca not going on contact. Murphy throws out Pierre, and that's the second out.
It's a couple times Murph has been involved with the infield in, and one unbelievable play, and this one routine. And Valleca, as soon as he sees this on the ground, Ralph, there's no place to react. It's a two-hopper to Murphy, looks him back and on to first.
Murphy, who had trouble in the outfield when he was trying to learn to play the outfield, has really helped his fielding when he's been in the infield. He was an infielder, basically.
Started out in the minor leagues as a third baseman, but there's no future as a third baseman in this organization.
That was right out there.
Used to be, back in the early days of the Mets, Ralph, if you had a third baseman's glove and you could play at all, you had a chance to play for the Mets.
You had an opening to the door there. And you had 2 or 3 keys in your pocket.
Donovan Solano's 2 for 2, batting with a runner at third and 2 out. And Laffey runs that cutter inside, and it's 2-0.
You're right, Gary. When I first came to the Mets, the talk was always about how many people played third base for the Mets. That talk is gone now since David's been here.
Well, it started. The problem with the Mets is they started at third base at the end of the alphabet. They started with Don Zimmer.
That's right.
Don Zimmer at third base.
Deep left center. Duda back in the gap. He's not going to get there, and it goes to the base of the wall. Valleca is in. Solano with his third hit of the afternoon, an RBI double, and it's 3-0 Miami.
Well, this ball is a fastball that's up and it's taken in the air to left center field, and it kept driving. The wind is blowing out here today, and that ball be a two-base hit.
You know, we showed you the pitch to Ruggiano that he hit the double on earlier. It's almost a carbon copy, same pitch that Solano hit also.
It's 9 hits now against Laffey, and the Mets will get the bullpen cranking. Greg Burke will start to throw. First base open, but they'll pitch to Stanton because Dobbs, who's on deck, has been the most difficult guy in the lineup for the Mets to get out. Although you'd have to question this here, wouldn't you?
I wonder about that, because Stanton is a real potentially long ball hitter.
Can't pitch to him here. You just can't.
And, well, you got to. I think you have to try to pitch to him. You can try and make it be on the corners and make sure they try to keep it out of the middle.
The Mets have handled Stanton so far in this series, keeping that ball inside and up on him, 1-1. Well, since he started in the major leagues, only Jose Bautista has a better home run rate. Last year, Stanton had a home run every 12.1 at bats, even better than his career mark. Solano at second and 2 out. And there's a good off-speed pitch by Laffey. One of the few changeups he's thrown.
That pitch out of the strike zone. I mean, it wasn't even close to being a strike. And when you're a hitter and you're a home run hitter and a potential real good hitter, you don't want to swing at those pitches. They were the teasers, and then what's to go after the ball?
Well, Ralph, it's one of the big questions about Stanton this year. He's got really no protection in the batting order. If you're a power hitter and you've been there before and you have nobody around you in the batting order, isn't it tempting to swing at more pitches out of the strike zone?
Well, that's it. That's the whole thing. It is tempting because you want to put the bat in the wall. There's no question about that. But it's also defeating because the baseball's hard to hit, and even strikes are hard to hit. When they're down like that, he got no chance to hit it.
Well,
if he hit that ball, he would have hit that ball on the ground.
Laffey takes care of Stanton for the second time, but the Marlins lead 3-0. north and talking things over with Aaron Laffey, who has given up 9 hits in the first 4 innings. On the other side, Jose Fernandez in his big league debut has given up nothing. 9 up and 9 down, 4 strikeouts in his first 3 big league innings. Colin Cowgill up for the second time, gets a little message, 1-0. Cowgill flied to center his first time up.
You know, talking about no hitters, we haven't talked about it, so we should now talk about it, because he's getting down to where he's pitched quite a ball game, and the Mets are not even close to having the base hit.
Hardest ball hit was Ruben Tejada, who lined out to right field leading off the third.
But the one thing you want to do is know that the no-hitter that was being pitched with 2 men out in the 9th inning, the first pitch was hit for a base hit to the batter with 2 outs, and it was a base hit to the middle, right? As a matter of fact, it was right to his legs, the pitcher's legs.
You were talking about the Yu Darvish game, right? Yeah.
Right.
Base hit by Marwin Gonzalez right through the 5-hole on Darvish, breaking up that perfect game. 1-2 to Cowgill, and he goes down swinging on the fastball. 5 strikeouts for Jose Fernandez, who's now retired the first 10. I want to get back to the discussion we started last inning, Ralph, about power hitters with no protection in the batting order.
Well, it's very difficult, as you know, Gary. The one thing is that they're not going to pitch to you if you are a home run hitter, and I'm talking about a home run hitter. It's around 50 home runs. You're going to get nothing. And the pitcher knows that. He knows that. And they're going to have to be hopeful that he doesn't know that.
So let me ask you this. You get in a situation like Stanton was last inning. It's 2 out and a runner at first. You know that you're the one big guy in the lineup, and the pitcher's pitching around you off the plate. Are you helping your team more by taking a walk in that spot? Or do you help your team more by expanding your strike zone and taking your chances?
Well, that's a tough question to answer right there, Gray, because there are many thoughts on that sort of thing. I really think you can get them base. I think that's more important.
Murphy shoots one up the middle, and the Mets have their first base runner of the afternoon. So after Fernandez had retired his first 10 big league hitters, he finally gives one up.
And we jinxed him.
No, you jinxed him.
No, we jinxed him. We're working in his union that way.
You know, the thing about Murph in this series, the home run, triple yesterday, of course, hitting the ball with authority.
That's what we were talking about earlier in the week.
He puts a bat in the ball well. I mean, there's no question about that. He's not a home run hitter, but he puts a bat in the ball well, and hits a lot of balls solidly.
So now David Wright, and he takes a breaking ball from Fernandez for a strike. Call that a slider, a curve, or something in between?
I was told it's a slurve, so yeah, a little bit of both.
It's kind of like what Kerry Wood threw when he first came up, right?
Yes.
They struck out 20 against the Astros in his 5th big league start.
And I guess that I should explain it to you folks out there. Of course, slider is a very tight breaking ball. A curveball usually is straight overhand, kind of 12 to 6 rotation. Well, a slurve is thrown with a 3/4 arm slot, and the ball will start at the right-hander's shoulder and end up on the outside corner if you throw it correctly.
20-year-old Jose Fernandez, very impressive in his big league debut. Ahead on right 0-2, and he gets the breaking ball over strike 3 call. Slurve, curve, slider, whatever it is, it's dastardly. 6 strikeouts for Fernandez.
You know, you're talking about the slider. The slider is really, a pitch is used to get the ball in the strike zone. And you want the ball to move a little bit so you don't get a slow pitch fastball, or a type that is a slow pitch fastball.
Well, in the draft 2 years ago, right after the Mets took Brandon Nimmo out of high school in Wyoming, the Marlins took Jose Fernandez out of high school in Tampa, Florida. Nimmo's an A-ball, and Fernandez is in the major leagues.
So one of those names on there also taken right before Fernandez, George Springer, all Mr. Yukon, of course. And we saw him in spring training with the Astros, and he's going to be quite a player.
Well, if Springer becomes what he looks like he could, he's got that center field power speed combination that you just don't see very often.
Yeah.
1-1 to Davis.
And we also saw him with the youngster Carlos Correa, their shortstop, who's a
#1 pick in the draft last year. Just 18 years old.
Houston's due some good news.
Well, same with this Marlins team. You know, they've stockpiled some young talent from some of the trades they've made. We saw their young outfielders, Christian Yelich, Jake Marisnick, this spring. They're both in Double-A. Brantley blocking that pitch in the dirt.
Did a good job on blocking that ball.
Two and 1 to Davis, and Eichen takes the breaking ball high, and now it's 3-1. Only the second 3-ball count that Fernandez has encountered this afternoon.
But with the shakes at 20 years old, I'm talking about the shaking of his head with the catcher Brantley. He is calling his own game out there.
At 20 years of age, that's unusual.
They talked a lot about his maturity leading up to this start. He just issued his first big league walk, and now Baxter will come up with 2 men on. Well, you guys had the experience of watching a 19-year-old come up from A-ball in 1984 and enjoy a considerable amount of success.
And I think he even had more, notoriety might not be the correct word, but when he came up, everyone wanted to see Dwight Gooden pitch. And then after that, everyone in the world wanted to see him pitch. He could light up the Shea Stadium, couldn't he, Dwight Gooden, when he pitched on those nights?
Well, yes, he could. He was one of those one-in-a-million type of guys that came through the organization. I know David Johnson said, I want him right now. And they said, no, he's got to go back for another year in the minor leagues. And Davey did get him right now, and he got him in the major leagues, and he was one of the great pitchers of all time that I have seen, but he messed up his life. And that's just a shame, because when you see pitchers like Bob Feller and people like Dwight Gooden, and Strasburg was a good example for the Washington team. Those guys come around about once every maybe 10 years or something.
1-1 to Baxter, tying run at the plate in a 3-0 game. Baxter struck out his first time up. Well, it's just a reminder, though, that it can be done at this kind of age. What Jose Fernandez is attempting to do: skip Double-A, skip Triple-A. Now, for the first time, starting to be a little bit more erratic with his pitches.
It's not only the first time, but his motion is a little askew from the stretch as opposed to the windup, and that certainly can happen. And also a little pressure of runners on base and pitching with a lead, and not as aggressive as he was before.
Also, it tips off pitches.
Yeah, there you go.
Murphy and Davis, the base runners, with 2 out. 2-1 on Baxter with Duda on deck.
You see Fernandez pointing to himself with his glove and saying, "My bad. You called the right pitch. I just shook you off. I shouldn't have."
On 2-1, Baxter swings through the fastball, and it's 2-2.
One thing a catcher can do, if he wants to call a pitch and he doesn't get the okay from the pitcher, he can call it again. And that means adamantly he's calling a pitch and wants it definitely.
Well, you got a rookie catcher and a rookie pitcher. 2-2, 2 out and 2 on. And the breaking ball bounced back to Fernandez. And he throws out Baxter to end the inning. So the Mets get their first 2 base runners and strand them. Ralph, we enjoyed your opening day. Thanks very much for joining us.
All right. Thank you very much, Gary. And
thanks,
Ron.
Thank you. I love your tan from Palm Springs.
All right. Very good.
I appreciate you bringing a little bit warmer weather. Very nice of you. And exclusive interviews. Plus, hear the latest in New York sports as Chris Carlin and Adam Shine debate the top stories of the day on Loudmouths, presented by Caesars Atlantic City, now at a new time. Tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. only on SNY. Aaron Laffey out for his 5th inning, trailing 3-0. Greg Dobbs leads off for Miami. Dobbs 2 for 2 today, 5 for 10 in the series, and Laffey comes inside and hits him on the arm. And so it goes. 3rd straight inning, the Marlins have had the leadoff man on. Well, Laffey's out there battling, but you can see what a small margin for error he has. Now Ruggiano, who drove in the first Miami run with a double to left center in the 3rd inning. And he drives this one to left field for a base hit. Duda is there to play it. Dobbs stops at second. And they're starting to really get the measure of Aaron Laffey. 10 hits now in 4 innings plus.
Well, just fastball supposed to be away. It's middle. Hit hard here by Ruggiano. Brantley, the left-handed hitter, up next. Then you got a couple of right-handers. If you include the pitcher, 3 right-handers. So Greg Burke, of course, in the bullpen for the Mets.
There's the side-arming right-hander. Brantley is 0 for 2, grounded to 3rd and popped to 3rd. And up there looking to sacrifice, and drops it down foul. Interesting call there with Brantley, who's, it's lefty against lefty, but he's one of their better hitters.
Well, I think what they're trying to do right now, because of the 3-run lead, they're trying to push it forward here. The only problem you have is that Burke's going to probably face Echeverria, so Laffey will be out of the game.
Well, the Mets are going to have to make a decision after watching this start from Laffey as to whether he's going to get another call or whether they'll go in a different direction next time around the rotation.
Almost backward there by manager Redmond, isn't it? And I don't know if they missed the sign or not. Usually you allow a hitter 1 pitch to swing the bat away and then maybe put the bunt on. He did it the opposite there with Brantley.
And it kind of puts your hitter in a hole because you're going to get probably a tougher pitch on the 0-1 than you are on that first pitch. Echeverria on deck. Laffey up to 87 pitches with nobody out in the 5th. Now you can be fairly certain Brantley will be swinging the bat. And he fouls off the breaking ball, still 0-2. Well, a rough day at the office for R.A. Dickey up at Rogers Center. 8-0 Red Sox after 5. Will Middlebrooks with 2 home runs off R.A. today.
Middlebrooks can really play, by the way. I know that he was caught up in the firestorm of maybe some Bobby Valentine, Kevin Euclid stuff, but he can really play.
Well, his emergence certainly made Euclid expendable for the Red Sox last year. Here's your Coors Light Cold Hard Facts, and that's the line for R.A. Pulled after 4 2/3. 8 runs, 10 hits, couple of home runs. His second start of the season. First one was so-so. This one not good at all. Fly ball right field, not very deep. Dobbs tags a second, but he goes nowhere as Baxter gets it in quickly. So Brantley unable to move the runners. Now 1 out of the inning, and that's going to be all for Aaron Laffey. Terry Collins on his way to the home plate umpire. He'll make a double switch. Marlon Byrd will come in the game, and so will Greg Burke, as the Mets go to their bullpen here in the 5th. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. 3-0 Miami in the 5th as Burke comes on. We'll be right back. Up 10 hits and 3 runs so far. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 and Sports Radio 101.9 FM WFAN. 10-game road trip starting tomorrow night in Philadelphia. Matt Harvey against Roy Halladay. 3 games in Philly, 3 in Minnesota, then 4 in Colorado. Marlon Byrd comes in to play right field. He'll bat 9th, and Greg Burke will pitch and bat 5th, his 3rd appearance.
Well, a tough go of it so far for Burke. He's given up 5 runs, only 2 of them earned so far. Trying to mend it here with his 3rd outing.
2 on and 1 out, and Danny Echeverria has singled and walked, and he takes the fastball for a strike. Well, the Mets have to make a player move today to put Aaron Laffey on the 25-man roster. They were carrying an extra relief pitcher, and I would imagine that the decision came down to Greg Burke or Jeurys Familia, and it was Familia who got sent down. So Burke got a stay. That one's lined, a base hit for Echeverria. Dobbs goes to 3rd. He'll pull in there. So Burke is greeted rudely. Echeverria has his 2nd hit of the day, and the bases are loaded with 1 out.
Well, when you bring Burke in, you want him to get the ground ball because you're looking for a double play here. But Echeverria has gotten off to a nice start in this ballgame. Another line drive.
So now Chris Valaika, his Marlins debut, and he's 2 for 2. Blooped a single to center in the second and then drove a double down the left field line to drive in a run in the fourth. Dobbs at third, Ruggiano at second, and Echeverria at first. Marlins already up 3-0 in the fifth. This could be a huge at bat right here for Valaika, trying to break the game open for Miami with the pitcher on deck. And Burke runs it inside. It's a very small sample. It's only the first week of the season. But so far in this remade Mets bullpen, Bobby Parnell's looked great. Scott Atchison has looked great. And everybody else has really struggled.
They have. They're so good in spring training, but they've had trouble with their control, really, which is surprising here early.
And Burke gets a strike, 1-1. Burke, who has come only recently to sidearming, really just in the last year. And it's taken him from what might have been the end of his professional career to a spot in the big leagues, and now trying to hang on to it. And Valaika bounces one foul down past Joe Espada, who still hasn't found the coaching box, and it's 1-2.
Well, this one he muscles out to center field, drops it in front of Cowgill. But that one is smashed down the left field line that scores Echeverria.
So Valaika batting 1,000. Last year played most of his season in AAA Louisville, hit .223. That was in the Reds organization. Here's the 1-2 from Burke, and he has to move his feet on the fastball. 2-2. Marlins now have 11 hits in this game. The Mets have but one against the first-time starter Jose Fernandez. Two and two now to Valaika. And he gets him with a breaking ball. There's a big strikeout for Greg Burke. 2 men down.
Well, that's the best breaking ball we've seen from Burke since he started here opening the season. Slider that starts right on the outside corner and bends about 2 feet outside.
Well, that's one of those enormous outs. If the Mets are able to rally and somehow win this game, you look back on that and say, hey, Marlins could have broken the game open. Burke made a big pitch. Now he'll face the pitcher Fernandez with the bases loaded, and he foul tips 1-0-1. Fernandez in his first big league game has struck out and sacrificed 0 for 1. Dobbs at third, Ruggiano at second, Echeverria at first with 2 down. Juan Pierre would be next. And Recker asking for time, wants to go out and talk to Burke.
Well, an interesting timeout here. Pitcher's up. Shouldn't have any problem here going right after him. But if you're unsure, you always want to make sure you get on the same page.
Always think in these spots, want to be telling yourself, don't throw a wild pitch. And Fernandez unable to handle that breaking ball, and it's 0-2.
And when you're out there in that position against this guy, you know all you're thinking about? I'm blowing this guy away, getting out of this inning. That's your only thought.
Oh, and 2 now to Fernandez, and he struck him out. So back-to-back strikeouts for Greg Burke to get the Mets out of trouble in the top of the fifth. Halfway through at Citi Field, 3-0 Miami.
Jose. He's got a lot of support here, about 20 people in attendance for Fernandez. And one of the people that is here is his personal pitching coach. He's actually pretty famous in Cuba. Orlando Chinea is here. He's been the pitching coach for Fernandez as soon as he got to Florida and escaped from Cuba. Now, Chinea is a guy that has trained a ton of greats. I mean, you're talking about El Duque, Livan Hernandez, Jose Contreras. He told me minutes ago that he knew Fernandez's dad. Did not know Jose back in Cuba because Chinea himself escaped in 2004. But when Fernandez got to the States, he took him under his wing. He said he didn't have a pitching motion at all, so we had to start from scratch. Also, he said he was 170 pounds. He's now around 240, so obviously his body is really filled out. But he said, you know, we just started, and I gave him a pitching motion, you know, and tried to make it nice and compact. We worked on striding towards home plate and had to really iron it all out. Now you look at his release point. It all comes from the same top. You know, you're talking about a fastball slider. How about conditioning, guys? He told me all kinds of non-traditional ways of conditioning. None more non-traditional than this. One of the big things that he did, that he also did with some of his other pitchers, is they would go to a parking lot, get a car and put it in neutral, and he'd have to push it around the parking lot and kind of time it. Now, the reason for that, explosive leg work. That's what he was trying to do with Jose, and clearly it's working. He's got those big legs, and he's using them today. And Chinea said what he likes about today, first of all, he's excited to see him out there, but he said he's balanced, he's calm, he's taking it in. That is pretty evident watching him with another strikeout. Guys,
got due to looking at the changeup for his 7th strikeout. Backdoor breaking ball, actually.
Well, we've seen it all from him. We've seen the great breaking ball, the backdoor breaking ball, good changeup, although we've only seen a couple of those, and of course the heat.
Ruben Tejada lined out to right field his first time up. Well, that's Jose Fernandez's mom on the right, Maritza. By the way, his pitching coach, Chinea, wearing the Cincinnati Reds cap. Is that an Aroldis Chapman connection?
Maybe.
Here's Tejada, and he takes inside ball 1. By the way, the most strikeouts in a big league debut against the Mets ever is 8.
Really?
Jason Jennings did that for the 2001 Rockies, and if I recall correctly, Jennings might have hit a home run in that game too.
That seems like a low number, doesn't it? 8?
Well, how many guys make their big league debuts against the Mets? Perhaps that's not a Reds cap. Maybe it's a Cuba cap.
Okay.
That would make more sense.
Well, you and I were in those gas lines in the 70s. Maybe that's where I got my leg strength from, pushing my car in the line to get it to the gas station.
Here's the 1-2 breaking ball, strike called, 1-2. Well, he had a little bit of a hiccup in the 4th. He gave up the base hit to Murphy and then seemed to struggle a little bit with his command pitching out of the stretch, but he's right back where he was. 20-year-old Jose Fernandez. Two and two now to Tejada with Anthony Recker on deck.
I was just thinking before when we first saw Fernandez go out there, Gary, you know, you and I have sons 18, 19, and 20. They certainly don't look the same as Fernandez. So polished, big strapping young man.
3-2 now to Tejada. Well, our kids don't look like Giancarlo Stanton either.
Right.
As are man children.
That's right.
Ronnie, you were talking, I think, last inning how impressive it is that Fernandez is calling his own game here. Clearly, he's shaken off Brentley quite a bit. And I asked Chinea about that. He said, I was on him about that in high school quite a bit. I told him, you know, he was a little hesitant to do it. And I was on him. I said, hey, if you don't learn that now, when are you going to learn? When you're 25 years old? He said, you take control of the game. It's on you.
That's good advice. No one else has that ERA except you at some point. And some pitchers just have a feel for the game, you know, and if you have a feel for the game, you should call your own pitches.
Second full count of the day for Fernandez, and Tejada almost topped that fastball. 96 miles an hour. That's about where he's topped out today. Just now seems to be breaking a sweat. Eighth pitch of the at bat to Tejada, and he manages to waste that breaking ball foul.
3-2 breaking ball by the 20-year-old. Before the game, Mike Redmond was asked how many pitches is he going to allow Fernandez to throw. 85 was the original number. I don't know if he's going to stick to that.
Right now, just trying to get through the fifth and qualify for a win. That's the first consideration for Fernandez now. This will be the ninth pitch of the at bat from Fernandez to Tejada. And he hits one back up the middle, a base hit. That's a really good turn it back for Ruben Tejada. Another 3-2 breaking ball. And he hits it up the middle for the Mets' second hit.
Well, those are good signs, aren't they? Last season, one of the things we marveled about Ruben Tejada was his ability to get and hang in that bat until he got a pitch he could handle with 2 strikes. And this one, not trying to do too much, kind of a short swing. Not a beautiful swing, but effective.
By the way, I was talking about Fernandez trying to qualify for a win. You have no idea how rare that would be. The last time that a pitcher under 21 made his major league debut against the Mets, started and won, was 40 years ago.
Wow.
Larry Christensen in 1973 made his major league debut as a 19-year-old with the Phillies, started and beat the Mets, and it hasn't happened again in the last 40 years. And that's what Jose Fernandez is trying to do today. 1 out and 1 on for Anthony Recker, who struck out on 3 pitches his first time up.
Seeing the stretch, just a little leg kick. That front leg goes kind of parallel to the ground and doesn't get as much push off in the stretch as he does from the windup, which is very normal for most pitchers.
Record chasing the breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Now the 1-2 to Recker, and he lines one down the left field line. That's a fair ball going to the corner. Tejada racing for third. He's being waved around by Tim Tuffle, and he will score without a throw. Anthony Recker has his first hit as a Met. It's an RBI double, and the Mets are on the board. It's 3-1 Miami. Well, Tejada got a hit on a 3-2 breaking ball. Now Recker on a 1-2 breaking ball.
This is the first breaking ball that's been bad by Fernandez. Just left it on the inside part of the plate after he threw one about a foot outside that fooled Recker. This one stayed right in the middle. Good hitting by Anthony. And we've seen Juan Pierre has had some trouble down in that corner getting the ball out. And by the time he did, Tejada running all the way. We've seen a more aggressive Tim Tuffle as a third base coach for the Mets this year, and scores easily.
Well, you know going into a series that you can run on Pierre, but especially when he has trouble picking the ball up. That enabled Tejada to score all the way from first. Now Marlon Byrd will bat for the first time. Came in on the double switch in the last inning. Byrd, who started the first 4 games of the season. 4 hits in 15 at bats. Attacking the first pitch he sees from Fernandez. He's been watching.
Yes, he has.
Colin Cowgill, the leadoff hitter, on deck. So the Mets finally able to break through against Jose Fernandez. Sometimes that 5th inning is the hardest one for a young pitcher.
For the first time when you're a young pitcher, you start looking ahead. You start looking at result orientated instead of just concentrating on batter to batter.
And Byrd bounces the breaking ball foul, and it's 0-2.
And what do I mean by that? It's like when you're young, you do silly things, and you sit in the dugout and you go, boy, if I could get 3 more outs here, I would be qualified for a win, which you never think about in the first 4 innings.
By the way, way, we need to talk about wins in a minute.
Okay.
Here's the 0-2 to Bird. He hits it foul. Yesterday, Josh Edgin came in, faced one batter, gave up a hit. It was Juan Pierre scoring and then committing the interference. So Edgin got credit for 1/3 of an inning. And the next half inning, the Mets took the lead for good. So normally Edgin would be credited with the win.
Right.
The official scorer, in his discretion, decided not to credit Edgin with the win. He gave it to the following pitcher, Brandon Lyon. Now, the rule book does give some discretion to the official scorer to reward a victory to somebody other than the pitcher of record if that pitcher pitches briefly and ineffectively. That's what the rule book says. And there's a guideline in the book that, again, gives the scorer discretion, but says briefly and ineffectively generally means less than an inning and giving up at least 2 earned runs.
They don't certainly have to be your earned runs. It could be the runners on base.
But Edgin only faced one batter, and he gave up 1 run for the previous pitcher. And I don't know about you, but I thought that Edgin should have gotten credit for the win, even though it doesn't seem fair, and wins can be kind of arbitrary anyway. The way the rule is written, we thought he should have gotten the win. Swing and a miss, and Bird goes down on a good breaking ball by Fernandez. Strikeout number 8 for Jose Fernandez, matching the most ever against the Mets in a big league debut.
Well, just another good breaking ball here by Fernandez. You know the problem I have, Gary, with the discretion part of it is, imagine if you had discretion on a save, right? Like save, there's definite criteria that dictates whether you get a save or not. When you have discretion, then you're going to run into different scenarios where, who knows? Should he have got it? Shouldn't he have not got it? Different scenarios could happen in a game where a little harder to call.
Right. The rule book, however, does not give the scorer discretion on saves.
That's right. Yes.
Here's Matt Harvey, who makes his second start of the year tomorrow night in Philadelphia, matched up against Roy Halladay, who did not pitch well in his first start.
His 11 Ks were the most ever for a Met, right?
And his debut. And his by the way, his season debut this year, that was pretty good too.
Yeah, right.
Calgill fouls it off, and it's 1-1. Well, since 1960, nobody other than those 4 struck out 11 or more and did not allow a run in their big league debut. Fernandez has allowed a run now and struck out 8. Calgill fouls it back 1-2. So a little Cuban flavor on that list. Louis Tion.
Boy, one of my favorites. I don't know about you.
Well, anybody who grew up watching the Red Sox would say that, right?
Well, he threw that complete game against the Cincinnati Reds in the '75 series on just 146 pitches.
Now Fernandez ahead on Calgill, who struck out his last at bat. Here's the 1-2. And it's off the plate, 2-2. By the way, just for reference, the Marlins rookie record for strikeouts in a game is 12. Josh Beckett back in 2002.
I was going to say Dontrell.
Not his debut. I don't know what the debut record is for the Marlins, but that's the rookie record. 8 now for Fernandez. Going for 9. Calgill pops it up. And Solano, the second baseman, staggering with the win, but hangs with it to end the inning. Mets get on the board on Anthony Recker's RBI double. Fernandez gets his 5 innings in, much to the delight of his mom. Now, Ronnie, you were saying that Middlebrooks was pretty good, right?
I know, but 3 home runs good.
This is Jose Fernandez coming in the dugout after the bottom of the 5th, and judging by the reaction, it looks like he may be done after 5 in his debut.
Well, it's 79 pitches. We said 85 is probably his limit, so great job. Wow.
Well, he struck out 8, which we are now told is the Marlins record for a debut. So he's got that mark, and he's got a 3-1 lead as Juan Pierre leads off the 6th inning against Greg Burke, who got the Mets out of a jam in the 5th inning with a couple of strikeouts. Quickly behind on Pierre, 2-0. Aaron Laffey in his Mets debut went 4 1/3, allowed 3 runs and 10 hits, a walk and 5 strikeouts. He hit a batter.
Remember, in the first game that Burke appeared in against the Marlins, it was Pierre who laid that bunt down that he chose to go to third base, and the runner was safe.
Wound up being charged with 4 runs in that outing, and that was probably the biggest mistake that he made. Slapped to shortstop. Tejada playing shallow against the speed of Pierre and throws him out. 1 away. So Pierre now 0 for 4. There's your Tri-Honda recap. Jose Fernandez, major league debut, certainly a successful one. A run and 3 hits, 8 strikeouts over 5 innings. Aaron Laffey, Mets debut, not quite as stellar, 3 runs and 10 hits, as the Marlins getting RBI doubles from Ruggiano, Valaika, and Solano, lead at 3-1. Solano's already got 3 hits today, which ties his career high. 2 singles and a double. One of the Solano brothers, who were both rookies in the National League East last year. Donovan's brother Jonathan was a rookie with the Nationals last year as a backup catcher. No room at the inn for him this year with Wilson Ramos back healthy.
Well, it's nice to see Wilson Ramos have a home run in yesterday's game. 2 home runs in yesterday's game, coming back from that awful injury.
Tore up his knee last year. I mean, what a devastating 18 months it was for Ramos. First he was kidnapped, and then he had his season cut short by injury. Fortunately, he's back healthy and happy and in the lineup. Burke misses with a breaking ball, 2-1. Burke facing Solano with Stanton on deck, and he catches the inside corner. 2-2. And Solano pops it up. Murphy flips the glasses down and looks for it. So Solano retired for the first time today. 2 out and nobody on. Braves and Cubs tied 1-1 in the 6th after Atlanta's Upton-fueled come-from-behind victory yesterday. Chris Johnson tweets our Toyota tweet of the day. Dear Mom and Pop Upton, thank you. That is all. BJ and the Bro both hitting home runs in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Well, Justin, so far it's pretty predictable, but BJ had been struggling coming out of the gate, but goes into the 9th inning. BJ ties it, and Justin wins it.
First time that brothers have homered in the same game since 2009, when the LaRoche brothers both homered for the Pirates. Giancarlo Stanton 0 for 3 today, now 3 for 12 in the series. And the Mets continue to pitch Stanton very well.
Thinking that's got to be a rarity for the brothers to hit it in the same inning as opposed to the same game.
So have to go back probably to the Aaron brothers.
Aaron brothers, maybe, although he wasn't much of a home run hitter, but MLB's Billy Ripken and Cal Ripken, maybe. I know the Griffey father and son hit it in the same inning.
Back to back,
yeah,
I think.
back to back.
I believe they did. There's a strike, 3-1 to Stanton. Well, it's a unique opportunity. Not too many brothers get to play with each other, you know, in high school ball, much less in Major League Baseball. And so far, the Braves are thriving with that tandem. Even though, you know, BJ's not off to a great start, the Braves are. And thanks in large part to Justin and the way he has swung the bat early in the year.
We've done a lot of jamming of Stanton. Seen him do a lot of reaching also.
Now the 3-2. He got him. Third time today that Stanton's been struck out. That's the third strikeout in relief for Burke, who's retired 5 in a row. Now the Mets will come to bat in the bottom of the 6th with the 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up, trailing 3-1. Harvey makes his second start against Roy Halladay tomorrow night. The rhyming couplet of G and Lee on Tuesday night, and Wednesday night Jeremy Hefner against Kyle Kendrick. For more on the series coming up with the Phillies, let's check in with Kevin.
Well, a couple big stories with the Phillies, guys. I talked to Greg Murphy, the sideline reporter for the Phils today, and first of all, it's Chase Utley, who has ripped the ball so far this year. He was 7 of 18 coming into today, 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. And Murphy said, you know, the thing about him, since the middle of spring training, he has looked like the old Utley. And it's not even his hitting, it's his running. He said on the triple that he hit, he just really turned it into an extra gear that we haven't seen in a little while from him. He's running the bases well. He's moving like himself. And quite frankly, that's given the guys in the clubhouse hope. Of course, the other story we will see this series is Roy Halladay trying to find his niche now after that diminished velocity. And the big feel around Phillies camp, at least according to Greg, the difference with Halladay, foul balls. Guys are getting their bats on the ball an awful lot when Halladay pitches. They're fouling off balls to keep bats extended, and they're putting the ball in play an awful lot. So the bottom line, where that velocity is missed, Halladay doesn't have that put-away pitch, at least yet. Gary?
Murphy drives one to deep center. Back goes Ruggiano to the track at the wall. It's out of here! Daniel Murphy with his second home run of the series, and it cuts the Marlins lead to 3-2. Well, Murphy hitting the ball with authority the first week of the season, and he has hit the ball to some places in the ballpark that are not often visited. Just 6 home runs last year, already his second in the first week of the season, as he greets A.J. Ramos with a long ball.
Well, so impressive. His first deep to left center, and this one straight away. This is where the Ike Davis and Lucas Dudas go. Murph joins the crowd.
So now it's a one-run ball game, and David Wright the batter. And Ramos, making his second appearance in the series, throws a breaking ball for a strike. Remember, Ramos got himself in trouble in the opening game of the series with a couple of walks and a hit batsman, but he got Murphy out with the bases loaded in that game.
That ground ball to second base, but
not this time.
Payback.
Nothing in 2 to Wright. Well, we talked about it from opening day, really, about Murphy and the fact that Terry Collins believes, and I think we certainly believe, that 6 home runs is just a starting point for Murph, that he's certainly capable of more than that, as that ball went directly off the mask of Rob Brantley, and the trainer is going to come out and see if he's okay.
Yeah, he really took it right off the chin, as you can see, pointing to it. Kind of rattles your helmet and mask around. You know, the problem for Ramos, and we really are impressed with his arm, is that he's coming in after a guy's been throwing 96 miles an hour. And now his 91 looks very, I wouldn't say hittable, but a lot different, 5 miles an hour less than Mr. Fernandez.
The bats may be sped up a tad. Now the Mets have now homered in each of the first 6 games. Last time they did that, 1987, which was a big home run year.
For everybody.
Yep. Mets have only 4 hits. They've been out hit 11-4, but now down by only 1. 0-2 from Ramos, and Wright fouls it away. Well, you were correct, Mr. Darling.
Was I?
Last brothers to homer in the same inning. The Ripken boys.
Boy, 96. Pretty cool.
Did it say anything on Billy's bat?
If it did, we can't say it.
No. Famous baseball card of Billy Ripken's. One and 2 to David Wright. Ramos out of Texas Tech. Just 5 feet 10 inches tall, but a power-packed arm. In his professional career, he has averaged 12.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Here's the 1-2, and it's off the plate. 2-2. So Jose Fernandez, 5 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, a walk, 8 strikeouts through 80 pitches in his big league debut. Jordani Valdez being with a bat in his hands. The pitcher spot is the 5-hole, 2 batters away. And David wastes away that breaking ball. Wright is 0 for 2 today. Fly to right and took a call third strike. 4 for 10 in this series. Well, the Red Sox are having a field day. They're up 13-0 now in Toronto. They've now hit 6 home runs, including the 3 from Middlebrooks. 2-2. And another breaking ball. That one misses. So David's gone from 0-2 to 3-2.
Well, when you watch Ramos throw, he's a little shorter, so he puts a lot into it. And you see that leg kick, almost a whirling dervish, as he ends up with his number, back of his number anyway, facing the hitter.
Not exactly in good fielding position.
No.
So full count to Wright, looking for his first home run of the year. And he takes outside, ball 4. So Ramos got ahead 0-2 on Wright after giving up the home run to Murphy, and he loses David to a walk. And now the tying run's aboard with nobody out. Mike Redmond going to his bullpen after just 80 pitches for his first-time starter Jose Fernandez. And certainly the bullpen is a big concern for the Marlins as they start this stripped-down season. When you see what Ike did on first pitches last year, he's been swinging at a lot of first pitches early this season.
Boy, that's a lot of home runs on first pitch swings.
Today, Davis has taken a call third strike and drawn a walk. Of course, batting average with a 0-0 count is one of the highest of any counts.
But to hit the ball out of the ballpark, that's a little more unusual.
And Ramos paying attention to Wright, who already has 3 stolen bases in the first week of the season.
Well, from pitching in the major leagues for a long time, I gave up a lot of home runs. Obviously, I would think that percentage would have to be small as far as first pitch. But it'd be interesting to find out.
I mean, there are guys who are up there looking for a first pitch fastball in the strike zone. I mean, the methodology for hitters has changed somewhat. The emphasis now is on working deep counts and seeing a lot of pitches, but sometimes that first one's the best one.
Yeah, right. Might not get another good one.
Right, with a very short lead, and Davis lays off the changeup. 1-1.
Well, I guess it really shows you how what a great performance it was by Jose Fernandez, because Ramos has got a good arm, but his stuff almost looks pedestrian next to watching Fernandez for the first 5 innings.
Jordani Valdespin's come out on deck to bat for the pitcher Burke, who did a terrific job in relief today. And Ike lifts one down the left field line. Over comes Pierre. And he gets there to make the catch. Wright tagging at first. He's going to take the extra base, and that puts the tying run in scoring position. That is terrific base running by Wright, knowing that Pierre doesn't have a good arm, knowing that he's running to his glove side, and he takes second base on the fly ball.
Well, all the intangibles you get with David Wright, not only the power, not only the defensive efficiency, but also the intelligence to know right there he realized, okay, it's a fly ball, it's an easy play, but he's backing up on it, so let me tag and take this extra base. Just outstanding. Terry Collins likes it, of course.
You know, it's easy to be a leader and never say a word if you play the game the right way.
I mean, that is just, you know, you love watching talented players, but to me, almost all the intelligent players, talented players I watch, whether it's Miguel Cabrera, Pujols, et cetera, they also have the intelligence when they play the game, and that certainly David showed that there. You can have all the scouting reports if you want, unless you can use it in the game.
So now Valdespin bats for Burke, trying to get that tying run in from second base. Jordani appeared as a pinch hitter yesterday, flied out, started the first game of the series in center field, got on base 4 times with a couple of hits, a walk, and a hit by pitch. The hit by pitch came courtesy of AJ Ramos, who he's facing now. Lucas Duda waiting on deck. There's a strike. The third baseman, Valleca, is playing in on the grass at third. Now, why in the world would they be expecting Valdespin to bunt in this spot?
We've seen that a couple times now. The Padres did it also on Jonathan Neese. Remember when they played? Cody Ransom played in. No reason to. You can start in, but back up behind the base at some point.
And he almost slapped it right by him. I mean, it would be a bad play to bunt for a hit in this spot.
If he bunts for a hit, he put himself in double play position with Duda coming up. So not going to bunt now. He's finally back. I guess for 1 strike. Manager Mike Redmond. Oh, we got 2 strikes now. Sorry, now he's moving back. Usually sometimes after 1 strike they'll move back, but here on 2 strikes he is.
So now Ramos ahead on the count. He was 0-2 on Wright, lost him to a walk. He's 0-2 now on Valdespin. And a little bit high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, one thing we've learned early about Ramos, throws a lot of pitches when he comes in. A little erratic with his control, but he can strike people out. And Valdespin takes high. In fact, Ramos' first appearance in the majors last September up against that high-powered Milwaukee lineup, struck out the side. Weeks, Braun, Ramirez.
Wow.
They're not quite as powerful right now. Braun's out of the lineup with a neck, and Ramirez is on the DL. Milwaukee off to a 1-4 start. 2-2 now to Valdespin. And the curveball outside and a full count. So again, he's gone from 0-2 to 3-2.
Young pitchers who try to, all they think about is a strikeout. You can see them go from 0-2 to 3-2 in a heartbeat.
Valdespin looking for his first RBI of the season. Trying to pick up right from second base. Ramos with a 3-2, and Valdespin takes a call, third strike. Picked off the inside corner to get him. 2 men down.
Well, I think Valdespin thought this pitch was low, but it looks like a pretty good pitch here. Catches, of course, all of the plate. And I think it was above the knees when it crossed the plate.
Looks like a good call from Jim Wolf. So now 2 out, right still at second. And here's Duda, who's been up twice, struck out both times against young Jose Fernandez. And Chivarria playing just behind right at second base, so he can't get too far off. And ball 1 to Duda.
Well, the one thing, sometimes your batting stance will dictate where a strike is called. Valdespin, of course, very hunched over, as opposed to Duda, who's more stands taller.
So if you crouch too much, you lower your knees and increase the bottom of the strike zone. As Duda pounds one foul, 1-1.
Ask Eddie Goodell.
They never threw a strike to him. How about Ricky Henderson?
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky would bat out of that extreme crouch. One of the reasons why he drew more walks than anybody in history.
Shooter Babbitt. You ever watch him play?
Shooter Babbitt. It's a great name. Josh Edgen up in the Mets bullpen.
Shooty Babbitt. I'm sorry. I said Shooter. Shooty Babbitt. Shooter is the.
That was the Dennis Hopper character in Hoosiers.
There you go.
Here's the 1-1. Pulled on the ground down to first. Dobbs goes down in the dirt to get it, and on target to Ramos to end the inning. Mets get closer on Daniel Murphy's leadoff home run. Murphy with his second of the year, just about to dead center to cut the Marlins lead to 1 run as we go to the 7th at Citi Field. His major league debut, and we got to watch today as Jose Fernandez, just 20 years old, Cuban defector who pitched high school ball in Tampa. At age 20, through 5 electrifying innings for the Marlins today. Struck out 8 and has a lead as we go to the 7th. That leads us to our AT&T trivia question. We asked you earlier who the youngest player to make his major league debut with the Marlins. There you go, Miguel Cabrera in 2003. Came up that year, won a World Series. Nice way to start your career.
Hit a couple of home runs in that series, didn't he?
The only other guy I thought might be in competition for that would be Giancarlo Stanton.
Oh, that's right.
He was also 20 when he started his career, but a few days older. Josh Edgin, who did not get the win in yesterday's game, even though he was technically the pitcher of record.
Josh is looking for a good outing, though. He's hit awfully hard in spring training, and he's given up some hard hit balls so far this year.
Well, it was Dobbs who got the base hit against him yesterday that led to the run and the interference play. Dobbs today 2 for 2, and he's been hit by a pitch, so he's had himself a fine series, 5 for 10. Justin Ruggiano on deck, then Rob Brantley in the 7th.
You know, the one thing I've seen in Josh is that unlike last year, he's slowing his motion down a little bit when he throws his breaking ball, and that's something you don't want to see.
So does that mean he's giving it away?
Yeah, it could be a tip-off. You know, I mean, one of the things that you saw when Josh came up last year was that he was just so aggressive with his fastball, with his breaking ball, and I don't know if he's trying to be a little finer or, you know, trying to throw a get-me-over breaking ball early in the count, but his position is a guy to come in and kind of breathe heavy for about 2 innings and throw hard.
Former high school wrestler in Pennsylvania, state champion. And Dobbs fouls it away, 2-1. Well, Edgin was one of those success stories, you know, 30th round draft pick who was on the fast track and got to the big leagues last year at a little Francis Marion College in South Carolina.
It's like Sanabia, who threw in the first game of the series. I think he was 32nd round draft pick.
Wind really whipping papers around now as it gusts harder and harder as the day goes along.
Jim Joyce has just become a garbage receptacle at third base.
Yeah, it's always good to be versatile. Too high. Now Edgin's behind on the left-hand hitter Dobbs, 3-1.
So now Jim Joyce is now giving it to Joe Espada, who now has taken it over and dumped it in the dugout. So there's teamwork out there.
Wind out of the south today, gusting to 34 miles an hour right now. So anything set loose on the wind is heading out onto the diamond. 3-1 coming, and Dobbs takes low ball 4. So Edgin again unable to get that left-hand hitter out, and the Marlins get the leadoff man on in the 7th. Now Justin Ruggiano, who's 2 for 3 today, a single and a double. He's driven in a run. Ruggiano 4 for 12 in this series with 3 runs batted in the 3 games. So it looks as though Ruggiano is picking up right where he left off last year, when I think he shocked everybody at age 30 by putting together what looked like a career year. Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe it was the first time he got a full opportunity. Where did he start, Gary? In Houston?
Ruggiano was drafted by the Dodgers out of Texas A&M back in '04. Had some time Tampa Bay. One and one to Ruggiano, and he swings through that breaking ball. 1-2.
Yeah, you're right, Gary. It has dropped in temperature here as Edgin blowing into his hand, just trying to get some kind of moisture so the ball doesn't feel like a cue ball.
And that's the thing about the wind, right? Is that it just dries out your fingers and dries out the ball. Down the right field line, long run for Bird, and Marlin gets there to make the catch. And scuffling back to first is Dobbs.
Well, not an easy play for Marlin. He had to go a long way to come in on that ball with the wind swirling. Makes it look pretty easy, though.
And Keith will be happy to see that he used two hands.
Yeah.
Is Keith here yet, by the way?
Oh, that's right. He's coming with you guys. You guys are bussing it right after the game.
He said, I'm going to show up around the 6th inning, which means he'll probably be here for the 8th.
That's right. Yes.
Here's Brantley, and he lays off 1-0.
Yeah, he always says he's going to be here at 5 before the night games, too. That doesn't always work out.
The rule is if you make it by the time we do our little stand-up in the opening segment, you're on time.
Okay.
Of course, now we have pregame responsibilities. So that complicates Keith's life a little bit.
Well, it takes away the coveted nap. So he's going to have to find a different time to have his hour.
So you're saying the 3 o'clock shrimp cocktail has turned into the 2 o'clock shrimp cocktail?
Absolutely.
Brantley behind and another left-hand hitter. Edging with the 2-0. And he dribbles one foul, 2-1. Well, this afternoon, the Phillies getting ready for the Mets to come in tomorrow night. Put Cole Hamels on the mound and had an early 4-0 lead against James Shields and the Royals. It's now Kansas City 8, Philadelphia 4.
And Hamels gave up a few home runs in Atlanta in his first game. So
it went up to Billy Butler this afternoon for the Royals. I mean, the Phillies are 2-3, and that's only because they pulled one out last night that they seem to have no business winning. You see what awaits the Mets. 3 in Philadelphia, 3 in Minnesota, and 4 in Colorado. Mets haven't been in Minnesota since 2004, and my recollection is it didn't go very well that time. Fly ball left field. Duda got a late start going back to the warning track. Can't make the catch. It bounces over the fence. The ball apparently is in play. It looked as though the ball bounced over the fence, but I don't think they ever called that a ground rule double. But it is a double anyway for Brantley. But it was a ball off the bat that it looked like Duda should catch, but he got a bad start on it.
well, we talked about it yesterday. You know, I would think that you'd want Lucas as deep as you can. His strength is not going back on the ball. Now, I just said it about Marlon Byrd. The wind is really gusting. That moved that ball away from him. We can see Dobbs had to really put his hand on Murphy's shoulder to get him out of the way.
That could have been an obstruction call, but as it turned out, doesn't have an impact on the play. So Edgin gives up a walk and a double, both to left-hand hitters, and Scott Atchison will try and bail him out. Back to Citi Field in a moment. Scott Atchison will pitch for the third straight day. Comes into a rough spot.
You're asking a lot for the veteran right-hander, but he has the ability not only to get the people out, but strike them out also, which you need right here.
Let's bring the infield in. Second and third and one out in a one-run game, and he bounces the breaking ball that Recker's able to stop. So Dobbs has to hold at third. 1-0. Danny Echeverria 2 for 2 and a walk.
Well, we've seen Recker already in this game a couple of times. A little lucky there, catches it in the glove, but he was out there trying to get in front of it.
Atchison was charged with a run yesterday, gave up the hit to Pierre, who came around to score. And now he's behind on Echeverria 2-0. He wouldn't be heartbroken to walk him here. You got Valaika on deck. Could set up the double play for him. Dobbs at third, Brantley at second with one out. Atchison behind 2-0. And Echeverria hits the comebacker. Atchison freezes the runner and gets the out, 2 away. There's a big out for Scott Atchison.
Nice job by Atchison making an effective pitch, but also fielding his position. Outstanding. 2-0 pitch. He goes for the slider, just like you're talking about, Gary. Not afraid to walk him if he did not swing at that pitch, but the aggressive young shortstop does, and he gets an out.
I remember back in the 5th inning, the Marlins had the bases loaded and one out, and Greg Burke struck out Valaika. That was a huge out. Now Atchison's gotten another one in that category to keep this game close. And now Valaika will get another turn. He's 2 for 3 today. A single and a double. He's driven in a run in his first game with the Marlins, and he takes a strike. Chris Coghlan has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Valaika keeps the inning going. And Atchison couldn't get him to bite. Another good block by Recker to keep Dobbs at third. 1-1.
We'll watch how the reaction is. Straight to his knees, and he uses that chest protector to cushion that and push it right in front of him. Nice job.
It's our first look at Recker in a regular season game. He's no kid, though. 29 years old. Big league time last year in Oakland and with the Cubs. Giving John Buck a day off today. 1-1. Valaika fouls it away. A good fastball by Atchison. 1-2.
Good pitching sequence there, right? Breaking ball for a strike, curveball to get him to bite. He doesn't. Fastball to keep him honest inside.
Dobbs at third. Brantley at second. 2 down. 3-2 Miami. 7th inning. One-two from Atchison, and he just got a piece of it. Valaika able to stay on the at bat on the breaking ball. Scott Atchison, brilliant last year and half a season with the Red Sox, but elbow problems cost him a couple of months. Came back in September. They wanted him to have surgery on that elbow. He never did. Instead decided to rehab it, and it's worked out for him. And the Mets hoping to keep him healthy this year. He's been very effective so far. 2-2 now to Valaika. It's a nice bounce back outing for Greg Burke today. Gave up a hit to the first man he faced, but then retired 5 in a row with 3 strikeouts. Now the 2-2, and it's low and away. Full count to Valaika. You got the left-hand batter Coghlan on deck to pinch it. No action in the bullpen, so that's going to be Atchison's guy if he walks Valaika here.
Well, we've talked about the Mets starting pitching in the first 5 games. They're going to win this game here today. It's going to be their relief pitching that's going to be the difference.
Starter Aaron Laffey gave up 3 runs and 10 hits over 4 1/3 in his Mets debut. Atchison, the 4th pitcher of the day. 3-2 to Valaika. And a foul tip held by Recker, strike 3. Atchison comes on and gets 2 huge outs to keep it a 1-run game. 37-year-old Scott Atchison pitching the 3rd straight day. Strikes out Valaika. It's still 3-2.
And rightfully so, a terrific job to get out of that jam, relieving Josh Edgin and come on and get the final 2 outs and keep it a 1-run deficit. We welcome you back to Citi Field. We head to the bottom of the 7th. You know, Atchison, it's amazing. He had a very difficult surgery his junior year in college at TCU. You know, just like everybody else, he's getting scouted. He's thinking, hey, I'm going to have a good junior year, get a high draft choice, and be on my way. Well, instead, he had a rotator cuff injury that hurt so bad he couldn't even open his kitchen cabinet. So he had to undergo rotator cuff surgery, but it wasn't the same type of surgery that they do today. It was not laparoscopic. In fact, he's got a big scar on his shoulder to tell you about it. So he ended up coming back and getting taken in the 49th round by the Seattle Mariners as a draft and follow. He said, when I came back my next year, it was hard. It was a mix and match. You know, one day I go out there, I'm throwing 90. Next day I go out there, it's 82. I just had no feel for it, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be right again. The next year, his 5th year as a 5th-year senior, he got it together and started pitching well. At that point, his personal trainer shared some information with him that the doctor that did the surgery, right after the surgery, told his trainer, said, I really doubt if he'll be able to pitch competitively ever again. Obviously, he's bucked that trend, doing well so far for the Mets. Guys?
Well, Atchison, a real success story. Here's a guy who was a success story for the Mets last year, John Roush. Had a good year for the Mets, but they declined to re-sign him, and the Marlins picked him up, and he's a big part of their bullpen, trying to hold the lead here in the 7th.
6 foot 11 inches tall, appeared in 73 games for the Mets last season, and just like the Mets, a lot of veterans in that relieving core for the Marlins. Chad Qualls, we've seen a couple times, and now John Roush.
They'll face 7, 8, and 9 in the Mets batting order as LaTroy Hawkins gets up in the Mets bullpen. Ruben Tejada will lead things off. Ruben's hit the ball well today, lined out to right field in the 3rd, and then singled up the middle in the 5th against the Marlins starter Jose Fernandez, who's got to be sitting on tenterhooks right now. Big league debut. He went 5 terrific innings, but now hoping that his bullpen can get 9 more outs and protect the lead. He left with a 3-1 lead, but Daniel Murphy homered against A.J. Ramos to make it a 1-run game in the 6th. And now Tejada leading off the home 7th, takes ball 1. Anthony Recker on deck, then Marlon Byrd here in the bottom of the 7th. Roush was in 73 games for the Mets last year, and really got better as the year went along. There was a time in the middle of June when he was struggling. Remember, we were in Toronto, and all of a sudden he cut loose with his fastball, and it really turned his season around. I
think one of the things that he had during the season, remember, he had both of his knees strained and he sat out 4 or 5 days, and after that he came back and he was lighting up the gun that he didn't do earlier in the season. The Mets have less tattoos this year without John Roush.
Didn't know they kept a statistic on
Oh,
that.
yes.
Would that be considered a traditional statistic or an advanced
I think
metric?
It's an advanced metric, Gary. Yeah.
Well, we were speculating on the arrival time of number 17. He's made it. Hi.
Last time I saw you, you had a fur. Now you got some leather working. Very nice.
It's a very stylish guy. You should know that by now. No tattoos, though.
And you know that.
Too high, ball 4, and so Tejada draws a leadoff walk. Another good at bat for Tejada, and the Mets have the tying run aboard with nobody out. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Well, it's a good thing that Keith is here now, because now we can properly wish our producer Greg Picker a happy birthday.
That's right.
Now that we're all here, I believe there are the correct numbers of candles on the cake for Mr. Picker that he can now receive mail from AARP. Here's Recker, who had an RBI double for the Mets' first run of the 5th.
Well, of all our group, he by far looks the youngest. So he's,
that's certainly true. You know why? Because he is the youngest.
Oh, is that true? That's right.
Well, he's younger than you, and you're the youngest one in the booth.
Okay.
So, yeah, you would. I mean, he's not as young as Kevin, but you know, Kevin's like a diaper dandy compared to us.
That's right.
But happy birthday, Greg. There's no greater producer in the business, as far too few people know. And we celebrate him every day. Taken for a strike, 1-1, because without Greg, we wouldn't sound good.
This is a volatile crew in here. You have to watch out. It could explode at any time. So
it's like a ticking time bomb.
Exactly. Some say it's already gone off occasionally.
1-1 to Recker, who got his first hit as a Met his last time up, an RBI double. And he fouls back that fastball at a good rip out at 1-2.
See, Roush quick pitched him there. Tejada didn't even have a chance to get a secondary lead.
Marlon Byrd's the number 9 hitter. Byrd's waiting on deck. Mets have been out hit today 12-4, but the Marlins have left 11 runners on base in 7 innings. Mets have gotten some big outs from their bullpen to keep this game close. Now the 1-2, and Recker takes low and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. John Roush, whose path in the big leagues has gone through the south side of Chicago and Montreal, Washington, Arizona, Minnesota, Toronto before coming to the Mets last year. There's Mike Dunn, the only lefty in that Marlins bullpen. And Recker lays off the slider, and now it's called him out. Pitch looked outside, but Jim Wolf called it strike 3. Recker doesn't have enough standing to argue, but
no,
that's a tough one right there.
And a little later call by Jim Wolf. Let's see the slider. Where is it? Well, you know what? It looks down. Let's see if it's outside. If he catches the front, that's a ball.
That's a ball. Well, we mentioned at the outset Jim Wolf is the brother of a pitcher looking for a job. He helped him out there. Tejada's running on the first pitch to Bird, and the throw is too late. Roush paid him no mind, and Tejada took off his first stolen base of the year.
Boy, that's beautiful right there. That's one of the things they think that Ruben can do 10 to 15 times a year. Pick his spot, surprise the other ball club, which he did here, and surprise John Roush.
You know, the Mets last year didn't steal many bases at all. These last 2 days, not only have they stolen bases, they've stolen them in big spots. Baxter in a tie game yesterday, and now Tejada down by a run in the 7th today.
That was fantastic. Great job.
Guys who are not necessarily the fastest guys out there, but picking the right spot. So now a base hit could tie it up. Bird up for the 2nd time. He struck out against the starter Fernandez in the 5th. Came in a double switch. One strike count to Marlon, and he takes it low, 1-1.
The problem, Gary, when you get deeper into the game, we see Cowgill on deck, is that you're facing these pitchers that necessarily don't give up 3, 4, 5 hits in a row. So it's nice to take a base like Tejada just did.
Bird fouls one off Brantley, who's taking a beating back there today.
Roush and Bird, teammates when they were with Washington, 2005.
It's over in Toronto. Red Sox beat the Blue Jays and R.A. Dickey 13-0.
Oh, man. Dickey
gave up the first 8 runs in that game. Red Sox hit 6 home runs, including 3 for Will Middlebrooks.
13-0. They're done.
Now Roush with the 1-2, and Bird lays off the slider. That's a ball. 2-2.
Boy, it looks like it almost crossed up Brantley. Did you see how he caught that slider? We talked about it before. Still learning the intricacies of defensive position as catcher.
He throws it better than he catches it.
And he hits fine.
2-2. And Bird goes down swinging. High fastball from Roush for the second out. So Roush, after a leadoff walk, picks up back-to-back strikeouts, and there are 2 away.
Well, foul tip there by Marlin. Nice job by Brantley holding on. Fastball up, just beats him. And snared by Brantley up in the strike zone. There shouldn't be a lot of talk here. Righty-righty matchup. Cowgill's up. Murphy's hot behind him.
Might be changing the signs.
Maybe changing the signs. The one thing you want to go up against Colin, as we've seen so far, is he'll get a steady diet of breaking balls at this at bat.
Brandon Lyon up alongside LaTroy Hawkins in the Mets bullpen. Colin Cowgill today 0 for 3. Flied out, struck out, popped up. And he takes the slider off the plate for ball 1. Daniel Murphy, who homered his last time up, would be next. Tejada, the tying run at second with 2 out. And Cowgill takes a high strike. Well, Jim Wolf has expanded his strike zone a couple of times in this inning for John Roush. One and one to Cowgill, who has 2 home runs in the first week of the season. And he foul tips the breaking ball, 1-2. Cowgill's done awfully well in RBI situations in his brief big league career. Has about 200 big league at bats all told. Now the 1-2 to Cowgill, and he popped it up. Solano coming in, battling the wind as he goes, and he makes the catch to end the inning. So Roush comes into his old haunts, issues a leadoff walk, and gets the next 3. 3-2 Marlins after 7. NY is brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce, the flavorful hot sauce with the iconic wooden cap. By Audi, Truth in Engineering. And by Time Warner Cable. Watch even more sports on more screens in the house with Time Warner Cable Sports Pass. The best value in sports. Call 1-800-TW-CABLE. Always nice to celebrate with the 69 world champs.
Right.
I know a lot of people in that crowd on the field.
Looked like Woodstock there at the Shea Stadium.
Well, it was only a few months later.
That's right.
Troy Hawkins will come on to pitch the 8th inning for New York.
Yeah, he's given up a couple of earned runs in his 2 appearances so far, trying to right the ship.
Well, we've been talking all day about what a bad day it's been for aces. How about David Price? Gave up 8 runs in 5 innings against the Indians today.
Wow.
Cleveland's up 11-0 in the 9th in that game. Second time around for the aces, not necessarily a good thing, unless you're Clayton Kershaw.
That's just 2 shutouts. I mean, what he only went 7 innings yesterday.
So he's gone 16 innings, no runs, 6 hits in his first 2 starts. And oh, by the way, hit the home run on opening day. It's a pretty good start for the Cy Young Award winner from 2 years ago, making his early bid for another. Chris Coghlan pinch hits for the Marlins as we start the 8th inning. Coghlan appeared yesterday as a pinch hitter and struck out in his only at bat against Bobby Parnell. Hawkins working for the 2nd time in this series, gave up 3 hits and a run, and it could have been a whole lot worse on Friday night. I say that because Placido Polanco got thrown out of the plate trying to score on Stanton's double off the center field fence in that inning. Juan Pierre on deck, then Donovan Solano for Miami here in the 8th. 0-2 to the former Rookie of the Year, and Coghlan takes outside 1 and 2.
Former Rookie of the Year, but no room here to play, right? Ruggiano getting off to another good start. Pierre, the veteran, they're going with in left field.
And Coghlan has never matched what he did his rookie season in 2009.
One of those players that might need a change of scenery, get it going again.
What was a very comfortable afternoon when it began has become a lot chillier as the day has gone along. But Hawkins again going with the short sleeves. Swing and a miss, and he gets Coghlan with the fastball. So Hawkins fans the first man to face him.
Coghlan, who when we saw him win the Rookie of the Year, had a short, compact swing, contact type hitter. Big swing here and a spin around on 2 strikes.
So 1 out and nobody on now. Juan Pierre. Pierre is 0 for 4 today. A strikeout and 3 ground balls as the corners pinch in. He takes a strike on the inside. Troy Hawkins, now 40 years old, started out his career as a starting pitcher in Minnesota. Spent a good 3.5 years in the Twins rotation, but never had much success there. And it wasn't until they put him in the bullpen that he found his best success, not as a closer because they tried him there too, but as a setup guy. And he's lasted a long time in that role. The Twins to the Cubs, the Giants, the Orioles, the Rockies, Yankees, Houston, Milwaukee, Angels last year, and now the Mets. Will Tapper, tough play for right against Pierre's speed, and too late. Pierre, who has the 3rd most infield hits over the last 3 years of anybody in the majors, is aboard with a 1-out infield single.
Well, it's almost like running and hitting. They're out of the box so quick. David couldn't do anything more than he did here. Bare hand, accurate throw, everything perfect. Just the physical speed of Pierre too much.
That's 13 hits this afternoon for Miami. First one for Pierre, who is certainly a threat to steal a base in this spot.
See, putting those gloves on, that one on his left hand protects against thumb injuries.
Batting gloves, running gloves. Donovan Solano, the batter. Solano's 3 for 4 today. 2 singles and a double. He's driven in a run.
I don't know if you've seen Ricky Weeks. When he gets on the bases, it looks like an oven mitt that he wears to protect his hand.
I like what David Wright does. You just grab gloves in both hands.
And
you don't
squeeze
have to wear them, just hold them, and that way you're not going to drag your hand.
Like Pierre is doing both.
Right. Well, he's got all his bases covered. That's a veteran move. He's just like he has the hat under the helmet. It's a double layer of protection. More stolen bases than any active player. He's not going to catch Ricky Henderson, but get to 600 steals. You've had quite a career. Mets have Murphy and Tejada at double play depth, and Solano takes up and in. Ball 1. Giancarlo Stanton looming on deck. You don't want to let that monster out of the cage. 1-1 to Solano. Mets have done quite a job against Stanton in this series, but you're just holding your breath. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts today. 3 for 13 in the series. A couple of soft singles and a double. The only hard hit ball he's hit in this series was against Hawkins in that game Friday night, the one he hit off the center field fence. Double play ball to Murphy. Out at second. Tejada with a perfect relay for the 4-6-3 to get Hawkins through the top of the 8th. That bullpen has been front and center this afternoon, keeping this a 1-run game. Now the Mets have the big hitters coming up in the 8th. Murphy, Wright, and Davis. After that for the Royals.
He's an underrated player, Billy Butler, isn't he? Tremendous power.
He's a very large player.
He is.
They've got some. They got some big people on that.
Hosmer's a big guy. Moustakas, the third baseman. Yeah, you're right.
That's a big people. And Frenchie in right field. Francoeur. Mike Dunn is on to pitch in the bottom of the 8th, his second appearance in the series.
Like many of the relievers we've talked about so far in this game, gotten off to a slow start, looking for a little redemption.
Daniel Murphy homered over the center field fence in the 6th inning, and he takes a strike from Dunn, 0-1. Murphy 2 for 3 today. He has half of the Mets hits. One time he was retired, he hit one of the warning track in left field that Pierre caught. Breaking ball hits to center field. That's hit pretty well, but not well enough as Ruggiano goes back to grab it. So Murphy continues to drive the ball. 1 out in the bottom of the 8th. There's your Mets box score. Murphy with the 2 hits, including the home run. Anthony Recker an RBI double for his first hit as a Met, but that's about it against Jose Fernandez and company. Fernandez, the 20-year-old, making his debut today, went 5 innings, and he's hoping for 5 more outs.
Murph, another reason to believe that spring training is insignificant.
Well, he barely played in spring training. Here's David Wright. Missed a lot of time at the end of spring training as well after his Captain America performance earlier in the spring for the U.S. team. He played, they won. He sat, they sagged. Mike Davis on deck. Wright is 0 for 2 and a walk today. And Dunn misses high with a fastball. Wright's only had 2 career at-bats against Dunn. They usually keep the left-hander away from him. David's 1 for 2 against Dunn. And Wright takes a big cut on 2-0 and Dunn threw him a slider.
But we had a number recently that we talked about that David's tendency to hit home runs off left-handed pitching has gone down considerably. Good slider there.
Now the 2-1 from Dunn, and Wright takes the backdoor breaking ball for a strike. Good curve by Dunn, and it's 2-2.
I don't think I've ever seen that pitch from Mike Dunn. It's usually against the left-handers is that good fastball and slider.
Now it's 2-2 to David Wright. David watches flowing away. 3-2. Well, Marlins pitchers walked 12 batters in the first 2 games of the series. They've walked 3 today, including the leadoff batter in the 7th. Roush walked Tejada on a 3-2 pitch. Now Wright's run the count 3-2 against the lefty Dunn. And David tries to hold, and did he go? He did not. Ball 4, and Wright is on. And Hickox with the call at first base, and Wright has walked for the 2nd time today.
Well, difficult here, David holding up. See that ball bat all the way around. We've seen that earlier in this series called, but not here.
So Ike Davis gets cracked with the tying run at first and 1 out. Ike is 0 for 2 and a walk today. 0 for 3 in his career against Mike Dunn. John Buck has come out on deck to bat for the pitcher. Buck coming off the bench for the first time after starting the first 5 games, leading the National League in RBIs. But first it's Davis, and Ike takes a slider low and away for ball 1. What do you think Jose Fernandez's fingernails are doing? He said that he wasn't scared of anything, but might be nervous.
The hardest part is when you think you might have a win in front of you, and you have to watch your relief pitchers get through these Met hitters.
Well, think about it. He exited after 5 innings, completely dominated. Ramos comes in, first batter. Murphy hits a home run, then he walks the next guy, but he works out of it. 7th inning, Roush comes in, walks the leadoff hitter, works out of it. Now Dunn has walked a guy here in the 8th, and trying to work through Ike Davis.
Ike's trying to channel his inner Clayton Richard.
Homered off Richard on him. in the second game of the year, and he fouls back that fastball. 1-1. Like hit 8 home runs against lefties last year. Already has one this season. His only home run. Bobby Parnell getting ready in case the Mets get him a save chance for the ninth. Scott Rice probably in case they don't. One on the inside corner, a strike with a slider, and it's 1-2. Well, now behind in the count. Did you want Wright to be running?
Well, if he's not running, you got to be really aware of this breaking ball in the dirt. You might be able to take advantage of a ball skipping away from Brantley.
David already has 3 stolen bases. Not going. Strike 3 call. Got him looking at a fastball. And Davis is caught looking for the second time today. That's 12 strikeouts for Marlin pitching. 2 out.
8 of those by Fernandez, the starter. Fastball away, and no argument for Mike. Right there, catches the front corner of the plate. Perfect pitch.
Well, a big hand from the Citi Field crowd for the introduction of John Buck as a pinch hitter. Instant hero in Flushing with his performance over the first week of the season. Yesterday, a 4 RBI day to help lift the Mets to a come-from-behind win. 9 RBIs in the first 5 games, tying a club record for the most RBIs in first 5 games as a Met, not first 5 games in a season. Mike Jacobs came up in the middle of the year in 05 and had that extraordinary beginning to his career. Remember, he had a pinch hit home run in a game at Shea. They were supposed to send him down after the game. Pedro Martinez argued for him to stay on the team. He came on the road trip and hit 4 home runs in 3 days in Arizona.
I was at the big Shea for that. Off Esteban Loaiza, he hit that home run off.
And he wasn't even supposed to play. They were down like 10-0. They used him as a pinch hitter in the 5th. The only reason Jacobs was even in the big leagues is because Mike Piazza was hurting. This is Buck's day yesterday. A 2-run double, a couple of sacrifice flies.
Well, that's what was even more impressive to me. Those 2 at-bats for the sacrifice flies were key.
Buck facing Dunn for the first time. He caught him last year. And a slider for a strike. 1-1. Buck, who had a rough offensive year last year in Miami, trying to channel his 2010 Toronto season. Dunn gets ahead 1-2. 281 that year with 20 home runs.
Well, I was talking to some of the folks that travel here with Miami and asking them about John Buck, and they said his bat speed is so much better than it was early in the season last year. And he said he does a lot of exercises that Eduardo Perez had taught him, and he's been doing that now for the last 6 months.
Now Dunn ahead on the count, 1-2 on Buck. Eduardo Perez now with the Astros.
Yes. I think he's the bench coach there, though, not the hitting instructor.
Right, the tying run at first with 2 out. On 1-2, Buck watches just outside. 94 from Dunn. That's as hard as he's thrown in this inning. 2-2. Marlins 3, Mets 2, bottom of the 8th. Mets have been fighting uphill all afternoon. They were down 3-0 in this game. 2-2 coming to Buck, and he struck him out. Dunn fans Buck. Back-to-back strikeouts for Dunn after the walk to right. And the Mets are turned aside in the bottom of the 8th. On to the 9th we go. Marlins 3, Mets 2. Is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Geico Sports Night, the only show that's only New York sports, coming up tonight. We'll look around the National League East. Look at the Knicks. Women's Final Four. All tonight. Geico Sports Night, 10:30. SNY. John Buck stays in to catch. And left-hander Scott Rice will pitch for the Mets in the 9th. He'll face Giancarlo Stanton leading off, and Stanton takes ball 1.
Scott Rice, the 4th appearance now. First 2 outstanding. Gave up a run in his last.
Well, the Mets trying to get Stanton out of town before he erupts. 0 for 4 and 3 strikeouts today, and he pounds 1 foul, 1-1. Marlins go home and play their home opener tomorrow night against the Braves.
Tomorrow night?
Yep. Well, it's Miami. They're not allowed to play during the day.
It's more fun at night there, I guess.
Well, they can get the Clevelander going.
That's right.
2-1 to Stanton. As for the Mets, they head to Philadelphia, where they open their series against the Phillies tomorrow night. Our coverage begins at 6 o'clock as Matt Harvey sees what he can do for an encore after that sterling first outing of the year. He'll be opposed by Roy Halladay, who will try again for his 200th career win. But the way it's going for Halladay right now, you have to really question what kind of year it's going to be for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has watched him pitch. You know, he had some soreness early in spring training, sat down a couple of days, and then has come back and has been just a little short with that fastball, 3, 4, 5 miles an hour.
And Stanton's on with a walk, so Rice walks the first man to face him. Greg Dobbs coming up. We'll check in with the studio. WB Mason post-game live. Gary Apple, Bobby Ojeda. All right, Gary. Scott Rice, a leadoff walk to Giancarlo Stanton. Now Greg Dobbs, who the Mets have had trouble getting out this entire weekend. He's been on base 4 times today. 2 singles, a hit by pitch, a walk. He scored a run. 5 for 10 in this series. You got the right-hand hitter Ruggiano on deck. Nobody thinking about a bunt here. the way Dobbs has been swinging the bat even against the lefties.
Well, Rice so far has been beating up Buck. Every pitch bouncing in. A little bit of nerves here for the veteran of 14 years in the minor leagues.
Steve Cishek, the Marlins closer, is getting ready. Mets will be due to send up Duda, Tejada, and the pitcher's spot in the bottom of the ninth. And Rice trying to keep it a one-run game. Been a bad day for the Aces. Steven Strasburg lost today. Cincinnati 6, Washington 3 is a final. Johnny Cueto gets his first win. 1-1 to Dobbs. Cold hard facts. Bad facts for those Aces. Dickey, Hamels, Price all getting beat up big time today. Phillies losing to Kansas City. It's 9-4 in the ninth. The Tampa Bay Cleveland game ended up 13-0 Indians. That was foul.
You know, you were talking about Halladay tomorrow. Also, you know, tougher test for Matt Harvey in that smaller ballpark. The weather's going to be much warmer, I believe, in Philadelphia. Chase Utley, as Kevin was mentioning earlier, swinging the bat great coming out of the gate.
He is, but there are a lot of Phillies who aren't. Yeah. Ryan Howard is struggling. Michael Young is struggling. Ben Revere is struggling. Of course, Delman Young's on the shelf, which puts a crimp in what they hoped would be the middle of their order. There's the 1-2. Bouncing ball slowly hit. Murphy waits on it. Shovels to Tejada, and he turns it over against the slow-footed Dobbs, whom the Mets finally are able to retire. Mets' second double play in the last 2 innings. Both have gone 4-6-3.
Now, one of the reasons Scott Rice is in that bullpen, he's a guy that they think can just consistently get a lot of ground balls, and got a key one there.
So 2 out and nobody on, and now Ruggiano, who's 2 for 4 today, a single, a double. He's driven in a run. Good change up by Rice to start him off. 0-1. Mets have used 6 pitchers today. Aaron Laffey started, lasted just 4 1/3, gave up 10 hits and somehow only 3 runs. Greg Burke, an inning and 2/3, pitched very well. No runs, 1 hit. Josh Edgin struggled, a third of an inning, a double and a walk, but Scott Atchison bailed him out with 2 big outs in the 7th. And Troy Hawkins worked around an infield hit in the 8th, and now Rice trying to keep it a 1-run game in the 9th. Terry's pushed all the right buttons with his bullpen today, hoping that he'll have some offense in the bottom of the 9th. That's lack for offense today, only 4 hits. They've had opportunities against the bullpen after Fernandez, the 20-year-old starter, was electric for 5. Two and 1 to Ruggiano. The Yankees bounce back. They beat Detroit 7-0 as they beat Justin Verlander. CC Sabathia gets his first win. Yankees now 2-4.
In their 2 wins, Andy Pettitte with 8 shutout innings, and CC Sabathia this afternoon.
Sabathia went 7, allowed 4 hits, struck out 4. Now the 3-2, and that just missed ball 4. So Ruggiano is on with a 2-out walk. 2 walks in the inning for Scott Rice. Hurricane Sandy wreaked havoc on our area and left many local youth baseball and softball leagues with no place to play. This year SNY is reaching out with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by New York Community Bank, offering $5,000 grants to local leagues in need of help. To apply, visit facebook.com/SNY today. Now Rob Brantley, who had a double against the left-hander Edge in his last time up. There goes the runner. Rice picks him off. The throw by Davis right on target, and Ruggiano's out. So Rice walks 2 in the inning, gets a double play ball, and then wait a second. It looks like they may have called a balk on Rice. So the inning is not over, and Ruggiano's safe at second base.
Well,
and Terry Collins very upset. You're not allowed to argue a balk, and so that's why Terry's not coming out of the dugout. You can get instantly ejected if you argue a balk.
Well, I don't know about that call, because they usually allow left-handers so much levity in what they can do as far as their move to first base. Let's watch Rice, though. He had a little hitch in there. Watch Ruggiano take off. See him? Now, yes, listen, is there a step towards first base? Not a great one. Have I seen that happen 1,000 times and never called? Absolutely.
And I think that's the point. I mean, the rule as it's strictly written, that's a balk,
yep.
But you never see a call. So now Ruggiano in scoring position, a chance for an insurance run for the Marlins. And Brantley swings and misses, 0-1.
Let's watch Jim Wolf.
Now, how does the home plate umpire have the angle to make that call?
It should be the first base umpire should make that call, not the home plate umpire. And I think that's why Terry's so hot about it.
Oh, and 1 to Brantley. And he takes it outside, a ball on a strike.
What you want your left-handers to do is once they see the guy break, almost, Gary, take a longer step than you usually will to first base, just to make sure that's not called. But again, that play is, I've seen it 1,000 times, not called a balk on the left-hander.
2-1 now to Brantley.
This is a huge run here.
Danny Echeverria would be next. Rice was in the dugout. Actually, Ike Davis was literally in the dugout. he had left the premises, had to come back. Here's the 2-1 coming from Rice, and that nicks the inside corner. 2-2 to Brantley. Well, something remarkable happened today in Baltimore. Chris Davis did not drive in a run. The Orioles lost 4-3 to the Twins. Minnesota's now 4-2. Thought that was supposed to be the easy touch for the Mets on that road trip.
But maybe not.
Maybe not indeed. Now the 2-2 from Rice to Brantley, and a tapper right back to Scott. And he makes the play to end the inning. So he works around a couple of walks and a balk to get the Mets to the bottom of the ninth, down by a run due to Tejada, and a pinch hitter coming up. Closer Steve Cishek to try and finish it off.
Well, you see his games this year, but 15 saves for this Marlins team last season. The side armor. Got to face Lucas Duda.
Career Cishek has been very effective against right-handers, as you might expect, with that sidearm delivery. Righties hitting 195. The lefties, though, 256, and the Mets will have 2 lefties up in this inning. Duda, and then after Tejada, it'll be presumably Neuenhuis.
So 2 threats out of 3 with the long ball.
Duda 0 for 3 at the plate today. A couple of strikeouts and a ground out. Lucas just 1 for 8 in this series. Mets have managed just 4 hits all afternoon. They've been out hit 13-4, but the Marlins have squandered all sorts of opportunities to extend their lead. Mets bullpen has done a terrific job to keep them in the game, and now trying to win it in their final turn at bat. And Duda takes the fastball up and away for ball 1. Cishek took over the closer's job last year for the Marlins when Heath Bell faltered.
You see Dobbs at first base right on that line, Gary, the pull side.
See the shadows encroaching on the field in the late afternoon. And now Cishek falls behind 2-0. Tejada on deck. Neuenhuis ready to pinch hit behind him. You know, Marlin pitchers have hurt themselves here in the later innings with walks, but they've been able to get out of trouble. And Duda ready for dead red on 2-0. Couldn't catch it. 2-1.
Gotta like the aggressiveness of Lucas Duda early this season. 2-0, letting it fly. That's his job, trying to hit one out of the ballpark.
Absolutely. Two-1 from Cishek. Tried to tie him up, but he missed with it, and now it's 3-1.
That's interesting to go to that slider after he'd thrown a fastball kind of by him, but that healthy cut by Duda made him go to plan B with that slider.
Here's the 3-1, and at the call strike with a fastball. 3-2.
We talked about the 2-0 swing, and now letting that 3-1 ball down the middle go.
Duda leading off in the bottom of the 9th. 3-2 from Cishek. Fly ball center field, and Ruggiano is there. 1 out. So Duda is retired. Now it's Ruben Tejada, who's had probably his best day at the plate so far this season. Lined out to right, singled up the middle, and then walked and stole a base in the 7th.
Probably Ruben's best game so far, defensively and offensively.
He's 0 for 2 against Cishek. Third baseman Valleca playing in and almost on the line. Ruben is not a guy who bunts for hits very often. And yet you see teams play him in like that all the time.
It's almost like he gets stereotyped because of his position. He's a shortstop and quick in the field, so they think he's a fast runner when he's not.
And Ruben takes the fastball high, 1-1. Well, when Jose Fernandez, the 20-year-old from Cuba, left the game, he needed his bullpen to get him 12 outs. They've gotten him 10.
And that's looking for a bloop and a blast.
And the slider for a strike, and now it's 1-2 to Tejada. That's finishing off their opening homestand. Took 2 out of 3 from San Diego. We're hoping to win their first 2 series for just the second time in 11 years. But it'll require a 9th inning rally. One-two. Off the plate, 2-2. Kirk Neuenhuis waiting on deck. 2-2 to Tejada. Fouled it away. Well, they're talk all the time in the first week about small samples. One small sample for the Mets for this season. Played a lot of long games the first week.
Yeah.
This one has gone over 3.5 hours in a 3-2 game. Here's the 2-2 from Cishek. Inside, and he got nicked by the pitch, and Tejada is aboard. That is enormous. Cishek hits Tejada with a pitch, and the tying run is on base with 1 out.
Well, bloop and a blast. Now looking for a nick and a bolt, maybe. Coming inside, just catching.
That's the kind you don't mind.
Uniform.
That's the uniform.
Right?
Doesn't even get meat.
Well, we've seen Neuenhuis. He's got tremendous power for a left-handed hitter to left center. Cishek usually pitching on the outside part of the plate.
Neuenhuis 1 for 6 to start the year, and he takes it wide for ball 1. His only hit came as a pinch hitter. Marlon Byrd waiting on deck. Neuenhuis started yesterday in center field, went 0 for 4, hit 1 ball hard. Stanton robbed him of a hit in right field. 1 out and 1 on. And Kirk swings at the fastball and misses. 1-1.
This pitch up in the strike zone, can't catch up to it.
Tejada stole a base in the 7th inning to get into scoring position, was left stranded. Now he's the tying run at first in the 9th. And Neuenhuis takes the backdoor breaking ball for a strike, and it's 1-2. One-two from Cishek, and Neuenhuis watches that one tick outside. 2-2 on the same pitch. You look nervous?
Yes, he does.
Jose Fernandez, the 20-year-old starter, hoping for a win in his big league debut. He's 2 outs away. 2-2 to Neuenhuis. Hit the other way, a foul ball. Still 2-2. That's last year. We're a couple of games under 500 in one-run games. 0-1 so far this year. Postseason team was 53 games over 500 in one-run games.
If you're going to have a successful year, there's 2 things going to happen. You got to win close games, and you got to beat the opposition's closer every once in a while.
Closer Cishek from Falmouth, Massachusetts. 2-2 to Neuenhuis. Little looper over shortstop. That's going to fall for a base hit. Tejada takes off for third. Pierre with the throw, not in time. And down to second is Neuenhuis. Tejada did not have a good read on that ball and decided very late to go to third, challenging that weak left arm of Juan Pierre, and it pays off big time for New York. Now they've got the tying run at third and the potential winning run at second.
Well, something that they talked about all spring training was trying to take advantage on the bases and be aggressive. We talked all series long, Pierre playing deep, and Tejada deciding to run on the weaker arm of Pierre. He gets in there, but look at Valaika not paying any attention at third base as you see Tejada make the aggressive move to go. The throw coming into third base, nowhere land is Neuenhuis, but Valaika's not paying attention. So what does he do? He takes second base.
Almost incredibly, the Marlins are bringing the infield in here. Marlon Byrd, the batter. It's a one-run game. A base hit wins the game for New York. And rather than play for the tie and play the infield back, Mike Redmond going completely against conventional strategy here by bringing the infield in.
You never see this. You play and you got a 1-run lead.
I don't think I've ever seen this before. Here's the 1-0 to Bird. Ground ball down to third. It's a fair ball. In comes Tejada. Here comes Neuenhuis, and the Mets win it. The Mets fought uphill all day long, and Marlon Bird drives in 2 to win it for New York, 4-3.
Well, we talked about in the 9th inning, if you're going to have a successful year, you've got to win 1-run games and you got to beat the opposition's closer. And they did both here in the 9th inning. Aggressive base running put him in a position that the manager for the Marlins decided to play the infield in. And with that ground ball by Bird, it cost them a victory and gives the Mets a victory.
It all started with Ruben Tejada being nicked by the pitch. Neuenhuis with a bloop single, and then the aggressive base running setting the table, and Bird just got it fair inside the bag off Valaika and down the line, and the Mets scored 2 to win it 4-3.
Well, just a little, well, I think it's just a fastball here from Cishek. Pulls it down the infield in. Valaika was not able to get to that baseball and keep it in front of him. See the back runner Neuenhuis. Once that bat is by him, great speed. He's going to score easily. And the Mets get a victory.
Well, it's certainly a decision that the rookie manager Mike Redmond is going to mull over after this game, to play the infield in that spot. And it might have cost him if Valaika is back a little bit. Perhaps he gets his glove on that ball and at least prevents the winning run from scoring.
We've done a lot of talk about the starting pitching so far in these first 6 games, but it was the bullpen that was able to hold the Marlins and give the Mets a chance to come back in this game.
Burke got 5 big outs. Scott Atchison a couple of huge outs, and then Hawkins and Rice finish it up. Scott Rice gets his first major league win. The 31-year-old rookie gets the victory after pitching the top of the 9th as Marlon Bird plays hero for New York, and he's standing by with Kevin Burkhardt.
Well, Marlon, welcome to the Mets. That's a heck of a moment to welcome you to New York, huh?
Oh, man, that was nice. You know, came in, 2 strikeouts. That last at bat, I said, hey, try to get the ball in there, but I squeaked it through.
You know, it was one of those games you guys didn't get much going offensively, even though you drew some walks. The kid Fernandez was real good for them early on. What was the feeling in the dugout going into that 9th inning?
Just, you know, keep grinding, try to get some guys on and see what can happen. You know, we got a team with scrappy. We work hard, and we put ourselves in a position to win in the 9th.
Is it at least whipped cream?
I think so. That's a lot better.
It matches your glasses anyway.
Thank you.
Hey, how about for you in this whole outfield? I mean, you know, I know Terry kind of said today that, hey, you know what, we're going to just try and get everybody in and get everybody involved. That was a perfect example. Kurt comes off the bench and gets a double, and then you deliver there. Talk about the team effort there.
We're all ready. No egos. You know, no one's being selfish. When it's our turn, it's time to go. So we come to the field ready every single day, get our work in, and whoever's out there, got to get it going.
Marlon, congrats on the win. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Marlon Bird comes through. He came off the bench today, and as he said, he had a couple of rough at-bats, 2 strikeouts, but then in position to be a hero, he comes through and gets the base hit to drive in the tying and winning runs in the bottom of the 9th, and helps the Mets take their first 2 series of the year for just the 2nd time in the last 11 years as they finish the homestand 4-2. Jose Fernandez denied the victory despite a tremendous first major league start. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northshorelij.com/KIWH. Mets fought uphill all day, and they win it in walk-off fashion. 4-3 over the Marlins. More from Citi Field coming right up.